Alright, hello and welcome back. Tonight we're going with Burden of Proof, an Ace Attorney-inspired visual novel, so... yes. Going to be seeing from the very start. Every piece of evidence is vital to investigation. Check the case files often. Oh. I see we're doing a lot of 3D models here. It's pretty straightforward. Every investigation is vital for a fair trial. I've always taken pride in understanding complex situations. Might be a bit... I've always found joy in solving mysteries, delivering justice. So when the sword appeared in one of my cases as a piece of evidence, I began to doubt my own sanity. Samurai sword. At first glance, the sword holds no meaning. You can observe the color, make, and material. But one aspect truly defines this item, the inscription. There's writing on the blade of the sword, but if you want to know what it says, you're out of luck. That's because I can't read it. It's not because it's hard to read or written in a foreign language. It's because my brain can't process what it says. Oh, does he have a similar issue that Tiger from Zodiac Trial had? No matter how much I look at the writing, I can't comprehend what is written. It's as if the writing's been censored from my own mind. When other people have read the inscription, my brain tunes out. When I took a photo, the words still didn't appear. So that means there's something wrong with me. The implications of that are quite disturbing. Am I going insane? Is my brain blocking out something? If anyone finds out, I'll lose my job. Sent to some sort of institution. And that's why I had to hide the sword. If I leave it here on the outskirts of town, nobody'll find it. If I ever have to see the sword again, it won't be a problem. As long as I never try to read the writing, I'll still be sane. That's not where my story begins. Something else happens tonight. Something far away from here. I was about to say, are we starting in Meta Res only to start at the beginning again? Alright, now this makes a lot more sense. A murder. Sure enough, my mentor and I'll be the ones to investigate. Alright. If we can't read it, but it's not actually legible, that almost implies we have a trauma-based block and some... Oh my. I think the cars might be missing the textures. Well, what matters is I can see what's going on here. Trying to do a 3D project like this on an indie budget's definitely pretty ambitious, and I can respect that. And as long as ultimately, as long as I can see and understand what's going on, it shouldn't matter. Of course, it could also be a stylistic thing if our character has some other issues beyond difficulty reading. Ooh, that would make things a lot more interesting. Alright, here we go. Some mysterious assailant fired a bullet, and it's going straight to the target. Chapter 1. Free parking. Hey, as long as we can pass go and collect $200, it's all good. Yeah, looks like it was a stylistic choice there. Just sort of, yeah, okay, so yeah, that was a stylistic choice. These cars all look normal. Well, interesting. Sir, we kept everything intact just like you said. Nail. I've been started IDing the victim. So, nail, cross... And are we going to have a hammer? For a nail and crosspeen hammer, I think it's supposed to be a reference to. The scene is on the 5th floor, sir. That'll be all. Dismissed. Oh dang, our character is sweating bullets. Nail seems very distressed today. But then again, he never is happy to investigate. Well, Conrad, we have work to do. So, Conrad Cross, it looks like? The victim was shot in the abdomen. Let us head up to the 5th floor and survey the area. I'll better do what he says before I end up a victim myself. Must be a pretty, strict leader. Alright, let's see here. I can move using the WASD. I can also speak to people using action button. Oh, what was that again? Oh, it was a spacebar. All I need to do is get to the 5th floor, speak to the officer. Easy enough. Ooh. Alright, so the mouse controls the camera. Pretty straightforward. Is there any, let's check out anything to investigate before speaking with the officer here. If there's anything like here, could potentially be useful. Anything good here? Doesn't look like it. I might be, I do want to explore a bit before, Alright, so if I hit the up and down, if I hit W and S for up and down, the character actually has to take a moment to turn. He can't spin on a dime. Not a big deal. Ooh. Alright, so when the magnifying glass appears, looks like the police are already here. They're probably waiting on the 5th floor with Nail. Dang, our character is really sweating bullets. I don't think even Phoenix was sweating this much during the first game. Or Ryanosuke during Great Ace Attorney's start. And he wasn't even a student of law there. Anything I can investigate over here that's marked with evidence, right? That triangle? This must be police equipment. We must really have prepared for this investigation. Alright, before we go over there, is there anything to the side I can check out? I really shouldn't wander off. Nail's waiting for me on the 5th floor. Okay, so that's what happens if you try and leave the area. Alright, not a big deal. A halt! This area is restricted. But I'm supposed to be working the case. Ha! A likely story. You just saw me exit a car with my mentor. He's the lead prosecutor on this case. This is getting nowhere fast. Show me your ID card, I can verify your identity. Oh, I left in the office. I'll be back with the ID card. I'll have to figure something out. Maybe there's a card around here I can use. I should search the area. This one. Prompted by default, it should be spacebar, right? There's an ID card. Ah, an ID card! Card, evidence added. I'm sure no one will mind if I borrow this. I'll put it back once I'm done. No one will even know it was missing. Now to show it to the officer. Isn't that his ID card, though? I already got the ID card from here. I just hope nobody minded that I took it. You again. I told you can't enter unless you authorized. Borrowed to gain entry to the crime scene. I didn't read the details out of respect to the owner. Let's see here. University of Maryland Institution. Rebecca Flowers. The portrait almost looks like a man's portrait, unless that's long hair on the side rather than just being a broad head shape. Huh. Present. Oh, I see. I guess this is fine for now. I'm authorized. You have to believe me. I'll believe you if you can prove who you are. Here's my ID card. Oh, your name is Flowers. Yep, that's me. I'm gonna be in a lot of trouble if I can't bluff my way through this. Oh, I remember someone by that name back at the precinct. Really? Yeah, of course. Sorry to keep you waiting. Just head right up there. Take the elevator, 5th floor. Thanks. Well, looks like I'm in. I should catch up with Nail. Alright, so looks like there's an autosave going on. That's good. Okay, set. I don't know if the game is going to crash or anything. Hopefully not. It's rather straightforward. But good to be prepared. Oh, Conrad, what took you so long? Just catching up on the case files. So this is the crime scene? Correct. It's a bit gruesome, isn't it? Shall we begin? I'm gonna let you handle this one on your own. Now something really must be wrong. Are you sure, sir? I think you're ready. Believe in yourself for a change, Conrad. My name is Conrad Cross. I'm studying to be a prosecutor. This is my mentor, Gray Nail. Alright, so we're going to be the prosecutor instead of the defense attorney for this game. Okay, I can get behind that. My job is to assist him in this investigation. Just a few hours ago, we were tasked with this job. A murder was committed here last night. It's hard to say who the culprit is, but eventually someone will be tried for this crime. We need to gather evidence in order to find the truth of what happened here. Alright, I'm ready. Good. Let's start by inspecting the relevant areas. First, walk up to the item you want to inspect, then press spacebar. Inspecting is a fundamental aspect of investigation, so use it well. The same way I found the ID card downstairs. I think I can manage that. Excellent. Is something wrong, sir? You've been acting strange. I guess he doesn't want to talk about it. Now get going. Remember, you have to move to an area to inspect it. Report back to me when you've inspected everything. Ooh, give me a quick glimpse of what I need to look at. Nice. Investigation, 5th floor. Ooh, a music change already. Not bad. Alright, I will say I do like actually being able to walk around to investigate a crime scene rather than having to rely on pixel hunting, which is a bit annoying in the actual Ace Attorney games, so hopefully that'll go well for this game. Well, first things first, the corpse. Alright, so, this is the victim. It looks like he died between these two cars. I should take a picture or something. I forgot to bring my camera. Sir, I already took a photo, sir. Oh, here's a copy. Oh, thank you. Right, since we're the prosecution, we're going to be working more directly with the police than when we're playing a defense attorney, an ace attorney, so that's going to be pretty convenient. Sheesh, would it hurt the face of the person you're speaking to? This body. I took down some notes on the photo I received from the officer. The car. We know he was going to the car. These cars are awfully close to the crime scene. Perhaps they're involved in some way. Sir, the cars are murderers? Requesting backup. The culprits have been identified. No, I mean maybe the killer hid in one of them or something. Whatever you say, sir. Cars are not a threat. Over. Well, as long as no one's in them. Regardless, we should contact the owners. I'll keep the record of the license plates. These vehicles are worth checking out later. We should sweep for fingerprints or something. Yeah, since based on that scene, it seems likely the victim was attempting to go into their car, but was attacked. Or possibly the person stole their car from neither of them belongs to this person. I already took a record of the license plates. There's not much else I can do until the police run more tests. Alright. What's going on here? Hello, officer? Can't talk. Busy investigating. Investigating what? There's nothing here. Well, don't tell anybody, but I'm just trying to tie my shoe. Oh, you keep doing that. Just trying to solve a murder here, no big deal. There's a gun here. Looks like a pistol. I think I was briefed on this before we arrived. The police found the weapon under this car. It was moved from its original position for the investigation. I'll keep a record of this evidence. This pistol was under the car when the police found it. Alright, first things first. There was one victim body. It was between the two cars. There were two cars at the crime scene that are probably relevant. One in spot 2, one in spot 6. I don't need to memorize the license plate because they're written there. Pistol found under the car in spot 6, likely the murder weapon. I wonder what it's doing there. Seems rather open and shut that that was the murder weapon, but obviously the case will be anything but. This looks like a tripod. That's an odd thing to find at a crime scene. I'll keep a record of it for later. Huh, I think that's everything there is to see here. I should speak to Nail when I'm ready to continue. This is that tripod. It's on the scene at spot 7, so it's right behind one of the cars. It's possible the gun was put on it, but then again, how to get under that car? Because remember, it was under the car in spot 6. They only moved it out there for easier investigation. Someone tried to take a picture of something. Well done. You can review items of interest from the case files anytime you wish. Be sure to check them often by pressing tab. Right, tab. Are you finished looking through the crime scene? This is your last chance to investigate before we leave. Yeah, we're done here, I'd say. I've seen everything here, sir. Good, let's review. Have you located the murder weapon? There was a gun under one of the cars, yes. Furthermore, it appears as though the victim was shot. This was the only gun at the scene, so it seems likely it was the murder weapon. A good deduction. The police have already run analysis on the pistol. No fingerprints were found, but we can tell it was fired 2 times. 2 times? That means one of the shots hit the victim, but the other, where could it be? Hit the ceiling. Look. Oh, dang. I didn't even see that. Oh, you're right! Bullet hole in the ceiling. Why had a bullet hit up there? It's hard to say. Was it an accident? Maybe it happened during a struggle with the victim. Whatever the answer is, the truth will come to light in the court tomorrow. Yeah, if he shot the victim in the back, why would he need to fire one into the ceiling? That would firing in the ceiling would almost imply it was a warning shot, but if that's the case, why would they shoot the person in the back? There's no way the person would turn their back to someone with a gun, even if they were ordered to flee. The trial's tomorrow? They already found a suspect? That's right, the defendant's name is Greg Gardner, and we've confirmed the victim's identity as well. His name was Daniel Yard. And this, the defendant is Gardner, the victim's Yard. Does that mean I'll be joining you behind the bench? Of course, I'll expect the best from you tomorrow. I hope my best is the same as your best. The preliminary autopsy report was finished shortly before we arrived. It contains details about the cause and the time of death of victim. It is extremely important evidence for tomorrow's trial, and I really want to, audio. I think I want to turn this down because the, text is really loud. Alright. Be sure to read through it carefully. That's odd. That didn't make it, quieter? Was it 2D effects? Because that's the, Here we are. Autopsy report. Alright, yeah, that was it. It's a little bit quieter now. So the cause of death was the bullet that hit him. Yes, and it's almost certain the bullet came from that gun. By the way, these cards are definitely related to the case. They are. Here's a detailed report to the license plate owners. Compare this report to the notes you took, if you can. Autopsy report, Daniel Yard. Location, parking garage, 5th floor. Killed around 2 a.m. Cause of death, bloodshot from a gunshot wound. Shooter was at least several meters away from the victim. There's a bullet hole in the ceiling above the crime scene. License plates. Okay, so yeah, these 2 cars each belong to the other. Oh, but we first need to check here. Spot 2. That belongs to Yard, and Gardner is the one in spot 6, where the pistol was under. Yeah, that's really starting to look clear. Yeah. It's starting to cut together pretty easy. Will do. Well, well, we meet again, Prosecutor Nail. Still investigating, are we? Kate Flocking. I presume you're the defendant's lawyer? She's a defense attorney? You presume correct, and who might this be? This is my student, Conrad Cross. Hello. Ah, student, how tragic. Well, I think most would use the term intern these days. It's not technically student would be could be correct if it's depending on if this is a class, part of a class where he was assigned to work under another prosecutor, I guess. I'm not 100% sure how law works, but there are some. I do know there are some professions which have you will work under another one. It's sort of like an apprenticeship, although that term isn't used as much anymore, even though it's still technically accurate. Or at least from my experience, it's not really used anymore. Or at least, yeah, it's still my limited experience, but yeah, I've usually seen intern used in place of apprenticeship these days. Some still use it, but only usually specific ones, like apprentice blacksmith, or something else that's going to use the job name and then apprenticeship after. Rather, while intern is used for almost anything. That his first case will be a loss. It's not my first case. That's enough, Conrad. Let the defense investigate. The defense is allowed to investigate? Both parties are allowed ample time to investigate before a trial begins. Oh, right. I believe that is a fair law. You'd best get to it, Miss Flocking. I look forward to an engaging trial tomorrow, Mr. Nail. Alright, what did we learn about the crime? Alright, let's run this through from the beginning. And let's assume the accused is guilty of the crime for the purpose of this. Right, first the victim is standing here. No, the time of death was 2 a.m. Why was he standing there? His car. Now that I have a record of the license plate owners, I can cross-reference it with the notes I took earlier. I should keep note that I can change categories when presenting evidence as well. The situation and prevent a profile. The car belongs to... Daniel Yard, the victim of the case. The victim, Daniel Yard. Correct. Since he was probably entering... So he was probably entering his car at 2 a.m. to go home. Then suddenly he was shot in the back by the accused. Did he fight back? Could that explain the bullet in the ceiling? He was shot in the back. I don't think someone could fight after that. And there's no blood anywhere but right here. Which means he didn't move from this spot. What did the accused do? Must have tried to dispose of the murder weapon, I guess? Under that car. Not the best hiding place. It's under his own car. What did this tripod have to do with anything? That's a difficult question. Perhaps it's unrelated. Well, maybe. Someone was scouting. Maybe someone's scouting. Scouting? Perhaps they had a camera set up pointed at the office building. Maybe something was being planned. Let's refrain from speculation. However, there's something about that building. A witness was supposedly in the building at the time of the crime. An eyewitness? Did they see anything? I'm not sure, but considering the police are calling her a witness, she probably saw something. Now, the accused was found on the spot at 2:20 a.m. That's what the police reported? It seems like a very simple case. As the victim was entering his car, the accused shot him in the back. Now, he tried to hide his weapon under a vehicle. The police arrived and arrested him. I don't know, that doesn't seem to fit the evidence. More evidence will be made available tomorrow. Alright then, let's have the police finish this up then. Indeed, I'll see you at the courthouse tomorrow. Get some rest. Now that we've gathered clues and evidence, we can start to piece things together. But the courtroom is where the real truth comes out. Likewise, tomorrow's trial will be a difficult battle. I don't know if rest is even an option for me. Oh, don't worry, Conrad. I know what it's like to not be able to sleep, period. Here we go. Eight, 9, and 10. A bit after 10 a.m. it seems. I'm pretty sure that's the same stock sound used for a race attorney, but it's a stock sound, so anyone can use it. This is it. I hope Nail can pull this off. That said, I should be ready to help him at any time. As his assistant, I'll be tasked with retrieving evidence. Some of the items I discovered yesterday should come in handy. This trial will now commence. Does the defendant understand the charges against him? Yeah, Your Honor. Very well. The suspect seems confident in his acquittal. He won't be for long. Is the prosecution ready to proceed? Ah, you've been waiting here all morning. Very well, is the defense ready? Ha! We'll show the dream team over there who's ready. Way to stay professional. Well then, let's begin. Well, I do like how everyone is sufficiently, over the top. Forgetting something, young one. You haven't introduced us yet. How old do you have to be to call the judge young? Oh, I almost forgot. Today's trial will mark the beginning of a new judicial system. What? Actually, it's more or less the same as it used to be. There are just 2 editions. I am Edition 1. Edition 2, ready and willing. These 2 serve as my consultants during the trial. Furthermore, the 3 of us will vote on the final verdict. The goal is to provide a more democratic approach to law. A 2/3 majority will be required to pass judgment. Oh. What? Why didn't you say anything? The law's changing, Conrad. I knew I was gonna mix up Conrad and Comrade at some point. It's out of our control. All we can do is attempt to steer it in the right direction. I look forward to an engaging trial, Mr. Nail. Right, that's out of the way. So, how does the defense plea? Not guilty, obviously. Yeah, we're not giving up that easily. Just like a criminal to keep fighting. So Crawford and Woodman. The law is something to be feared. That's quite an... Why don't we let the prosecution take it from here? Are representatives of the law supposed to argue like that? The victim was Daniel Yard. He was killed in a parking garage on the 5th floor at 2 a.m. Conrad, can you share a photo of the scene? Me? Let's see. Here it is. Oh, I see. This looks very dreadful. Indeed, as you can see, the victim was shot in the back. There's no indication the body was moved after death. As for the weapon, we have a pretty good idea. Conrad, please show His Honor what was found at the scene of the crime. Right away, sir. This is the weapon that was found. Oh, you found a pistol at the scene of the crime. Very telling indeed. It's like a criminal lead traces the crime. Way to go, Conrad. That should give them something to think about. Objection. Tell me, Mr. Nail, where was this piece of evidence found? Under a car parked at the scene. I see. Have you identified the owner of the car? Conrad, you're up. I got it. Owner of the car? Rick Gardner. It was the defendant's car. We can assume that after the crime it was tossed under there. Very compelling evidence. So after the murder, the defendant hid the weapon under his own car? That is correct. Objection. I believe His Honor just hit the nail on the head. This is a serious problem with the prosecution's argument, and that is where the pistol was hidden. But it clearly points to the defendant's involvement. Wrong. Tell me, if you had committed a murder, would you leave the weapon under your own car? A very good point indeed. Objection sustained. Oh, but tell me, Mr. Nail, were there any fingerprints found on the weapon? None. Oh, but the defendant could have been wearing gloves. Were any gloves found at the scene? No. Oh, he could have hidden them somewhere, right? Tossed them outside? This issue is too minor to go on about. Indeed, the prosecution will refrain from speculation. Does the defense have any other points? Your Honor, I believe the prosecution has left out an important detail. We haven't heard why the defendant was arrested. I believe Miss Flocking is correct, Your Honor. What is the basis for your accusation? After the crime had taken place, a witness called the police. And where was this witness? In the office building across the street. She claimed to have heard gunshots. And then when the police arrived, they found Gardner on the scene? They found him on the 5th floor. So he was arrested for being closest to the scene? That, and there was a clear motive. We'll get to the motive soon, but first... When exactly did the police show up? Around 20 minutes later. 20 minutes? And that time the criminal would have been long gone. But Gardner's still in the parking garage. Exactly. If you committed a crime, wouldn't you have fled the scene? That is a pretty good point. Our case has some good evidence, but it has a lot of it's pretty circumstantial. Order! Let me get this straight. First, gunshots were heard around 2 a.m. on the 5th floor of the parking garage. Then the police were called. They arrived 20 minutes later and found this brutal scene, along with the defendant who was still near the body. That is correct. Do you have an explanation as to why Mr. Gardner would still be on the scene? How can this happen? If Gardner really is the culprit, why did he stay near the crime scene? The prosecution has an explanation. We do? Conrad, I want to hear your thoughts on this. I guess I'll try my best, so let me think. I guess the simplest one would be that he did intend to leave, but he had to come back, possibly for the gun or something else. Not knowing the police would arrive is fully possible, because he couldn't have since we don't know if the witness got a clear shot of him or and by extension, we don't know if he'd have a clear shot of the person. This one seems a bit weird. I don't know what this one could mean. I'm sure there's an explanation for it, but let's try this one. Maybe he left and came back later. It's reasonable enough to assume that he left the scene, but there's no evidence to suggest he actually did. Plus, he would have driven away in his car. There's no sign the car had moved after 2 a.m., but what if he left on foot? And go where? Furthermore, why would he return? Maybe he forgot something. That would be a foolish move on his part. Let's think of something else. So this is probably the real one, so let's see what the other one. What if he didn't know he was in danger, though? What if he thought he had plenty of time to hide his crime? Will the defense say Mr. Gardner wasn't aware of the approaching police? You mean to say he thought he had more time to flee the scene? That is correct. I say no. The defendant, the prosecution, is well aware that an office building is located right next to this garage. He would have known someone would hear the shots. Objection. It was 2 a.m. Who would still be in that building? Furthermore, the weather was stormy. Gunshots would be easily mistaken as lightning. Therefore, the defendant would have thought his tracks were covered. They'll really turn that one around. We might have a fighting chance. If he had that much time to spare, he would have hidden the murder weapon in a better place. That's true, 20 minutes is a long time. We could go on like this all day, but I have a better idea. Get ready to pass a verdict, counselors. The defense has acquired a decisive witness. Exactly how decisive are we talking about? Is the prosecution aware that the defendant was not at the scene of the crime at 2 a.m.? Are you serious? Now this is getting interesting. Your Honor, the defense is making a mockery of this court. The defendant was found at the scene of the crime. Will the court please recall that was 20 minutes after the gunshots? The defense is not jesting, counselors. A witness has agreed to testify she was with Mr. Gardner at 2 a.m. What? The defense will call this witness immediately. Oh, this isn't good. Could we be wrong? Conrad, I figured something like this might happen, but I know that we have the culprit. Are you alright, sir? I believe I've caught a cold. Was he investigating last night or something? How could he have committed the crime if he wasn't there at 2 a.m.? The evidence will guide us, one way or another. Could the witness lie under oath? The witness has been sworn in. Will you please state your name and occupation? My name's Rebecca Flowers. Flowers? Why does that name sound familiar? So that explains why it was indeed her hair. I would tell you my occupation, but what time is it? It's a little past 11 a.m. 11 a.m.? I'm late! Miss Flowers, you've been summoned to a court of law. She seems like a wild card. I'm sure whatever arrangements you made can be postponed. This is a very serious murder trial. Yeah, very serious. Oh, Mr. Gardner, you here too? Yeah. Hello again. Wait, what? You know the defendant? The defendant? You mean Mr. Gardner? Here's my office when those gunshots went off. The criminal wasn't even present at the time of the crime. Not a very convincing case for the prosecution. Let's hear the whole story before any assumptions are made. You suspect Mr. Gardner of the murder? That's impossible, though. He was with me when I called the police. You mean this is the witness that reported the crime? It appears so. Why didn't I hear about this testimony before? Well, I didn't even know Mr. Gardner was arrested until now. Then this nice attorney found me and asked me about the gunshots. I hope the court's prepared. The end is nay. Witness, please testify about the moment of the murder. Conrad, the witness is about to give testimony. Testifying under oath, I think I know the basics. Since the defense has called the witness, Flocking will be questioning her. In other words, she will ask questions related to the case. Either party can object if something doesn't sound right. I can do that with Q, right? Correct, I'll do the objecting for now, though. Oh, but you can only do that if you're prompted with the exclamation mark? Yes, but be wary. If someone objects to something trivial, the court will grow tired. You should be prepared to back up any objections with evidence. Alright, got it. Let's hear the testimony. Testimony. Flowers in the office. What were you doing with Mr. Garner at 2 a.m.? 2 a.m. What? I'm late. Witness, it isn't 2 a.m. Oh, let's see. Mr. Gardner came in asking for an extension on his payments. Payments? I work at a loan company. And the defendant was going to be late in paying? That's right, although now that Dan's gone, I don't know if our company can stay afloat. What? You knew the victim too? Oh, you didn't know? Mr. Yard runs the company I work at. Oh, this explains the motive. He was in debt, and this clears the debt. Is there anyone in this case that doesn't know the witness? That would be the prosecution, Your Honor. You heard the gunshots at around 2 a.m., correct? 2 a.m., gonna be late. Am I getting deja vu, or have we been through this already? Where were you when the shots went off? I was in my office with Mr. Gardner. Where exactly? Take a look at this diagram. My desk is here, facing the door. And the defendant was sitting across from you? Yes, he heard the shots as well. After I heard them, I almost mistook it for lightning, but it sounded so close, so I turned around. It was dark and stormy, so I couldn't see clearly. But there was definitely someone in the parking garage. After a few moments, he fell over. You saw the moment of death? That's right, it was very frightening. And there was no one else in the parking garage? None that I could see. We ain't lose faith in the prosecution. The real culprit probably hid during that span of time, between the murder and a few seconds after the witness turned. Data from the autopsy confirms the shooter would have been... Simplified crime scene. On the right side from this viewpoint. And the tripod being there means it's going to be important. Based on the angle of impact, the victim was probably entering his car. He was shot squarely in the back. So the culprit was in spot 5. This is bad, we have to do something fast. Miss Flowers, was the defendant in his seat when you heard the shots? Oh, yes, he was. Comrade, someone isn't telling us something. Please show the court. Someone isn't telling us something. Who is hiding information from the court? The defendant. In the building across the street. Alright. I'm not sure if there's a way to check my, log. It doesn't look like there is. I start on the profiles, but I'm not sure if that's because I was on the profiles last or not. On Red Cross. It's me, what more can I say? Reno, my friend and mentor, he taught me everything I know about prosecuting. The defendant accused of murder in the parking lot at 2 a.m. I guess the one thing we haven't heard of was we haven't heard Greg's account. Mr. Gardner, based on the witness's testimony, you should have seen the moment of the crime through the window. Yeah, I should have. I mean, I saw the same thing as Flowers. It's raining, so I can only see the victim. Alright, I can make an objection. But that doesn't add up. Nice going, comrade. You remembered the exclamation point indicator. Yeah, all I do is hit Q and raise an objection. I also have the ability to click the indicator to do the same if I'm using mouse controls. But be careful, you should only do this if you can prove your claim. Unjustified objections will put you in a bad place with the judge. Now explain to the court what's wrong with this statement. Mr. Gardner, you said you couldn't see the culprit. We just proved the killer was standing in spot 05. Oh, but the weather was not an issue. Miss Flowers may have missed the true culprit due to the few seconds missed when she turned after hearing the gunshots. But you were facing the window the entire time. Furthermore, we've established that someone standing in spot 003 could be seen from Miss Flowers' office. That's right. If the killer was in spot 05, that would be right next to the clearly visible victim. Why would the defendant lie about not seeing the culprit? It can only mean one thing: Gardner is involved with the crime. Just like we suspected. We're not done yet. Let us see what else the witness has to say. The prosecution's been basing their entire argument on an incorrect premise. And what is this premise you speak of? It's simple. The true culprit couldn't have been in spot 05. The evidence the prosecution's presented contains a major contradiction. She's right. Would you care to explain the problem, Mr. Cross? Alright. Go through every piece of evidence carefully before answering. Why couldn't the culprit have been in spot 005? Spot 7, 206. Why couldn't the culprit have been spot 05? It was right in front of the car, wasn't it? One car was an 02, so this would, it would be 3, he would be on 4 here. Something about the victim in relation to the shooter. But what about it? I need to look through every piece of evidence I have. Would the distance be a factor? I'm not being penalized because this is the first case. Parking garage fifth floor. The shooter was at least several meters away from the victim. The autopsy report. Sadly, the defense is correct. The autopsy report confirms the shooter was at least several meters away when firing. You're right, so that means the culprit could have very well been out of the defendant's line of sight. The defense's point is valid. Objection sustained. What could this mean? There was no way for the killer to be in spot 05. We know the culprit had to be in one of those parking spaces, and spot 06 was blocked by the defense car, which means our elusive criminal had to have been in spot 7 or beyond. Objection. If you would look at this photo of the crime scene, the car's windows are closed. The bullet hit the victim's chest area, making that shot impossible without damaging the car. A very valid point. The culprit wasn't behind that car. The next piece of testimony should clear this confusion up. Oh right, there's still a witness on the stand. Please continue. Miss Flowers, what did you do after you saw the victim fall down? I called the police. And what did they tell you? They said they would arrive in about 40 minutes. That is quite a long response time. Oh, right, they said it would be hard to show up sooner due to the stormy weather. Yes, and I told Mr. Garner they were coming. But that 40 minutes, that means it was before 2 a.m. when he was killed. Then he left to make sure Mr. Yard was alright. What did you do? I stayed in my office for a bit. Then around 30 minutes later, I went to the lobby to meet the police. But they had already arrived. Oh, that's right. Your Honor, this testimony is extremely important. The defendant was on the scene to check the state of the victim, where he was arrested for a crime he didn't commit. The story does fit the scenario quite well. What about the issue of the missing culprit? That can be explained if we hear the defendant's statement. When I arrived at the scene, I rolled up my car windows. What? At the moment of the crime, the defendant's car windows were open, allowing the true killer to make the shot beyond the spot of 6. Which explains why the defendant couldn't see the culprit. It was out of view from the witness's office. Correct. Then when Mr. Gardner arrived at the scene 20 minutes later, he closed his car windows. Objection. Why would he close the windows if he was there to help the victim? He's clearly lying. Actually, Mr. Gardner's testified to this fact previously. Why would he lie about something so minor at the time? As for the reason, I find that irrelevant to the case at hand. What matters is that he did close the car windows at 2:20 a.m. 2:20? I believe we've heard enough. It's a very clear case of a misunderstanding, counselors. The defendant is innocent. I'm prepared to pass down a verdict. Are the counselors ready? I've been ready from the start. I believe I can pass judgment as well. Now, this is bad. We're gonna lose for sure. The logic was correct. He has to be guilty, but the evidence... What can we do, sir? There must be something we missed. Oh, but does that mean he was actually at the scene at 2 a.m.? The prosecution's done whispering amongst themselves. The defense can prove the defendant was not at the scene. You can? With what? Miss Flower's office is equipped with 2 security cameras. They take a picture once every 5 minutes. As you can see, the defendant is in his office at 1:55. Here at 2 a.m. as well. Then, once the shots went off, Miss Flowers called the police, and Mr. Gardner is no longer at the scene. Yeah, I think they use the tripod here to, wish they gave me the picture of the crime scene here. But yeah, I think they use the tripod to mount the gun and have it fire. I guess they could do some... But can they use the shutter timer to do that? That would allow him to do it remotely. See. So the witness was telling the truth. You can see this picture that they're actually looking at the scene of the crime. That must be just after the shots. Are you right, sir? I'm alright. I see no reason to further prolong this trial. I'm prepared to call for a vote to pass judgment. How does Counselor Wooden plea? Not guilty. Oh no. And Counselor Crawford? I've been waiting for this moment. Justice is swift and unforgiving. Guilty. Very well. And I vote... sir? Ah! Someone call a doctor! No. Oh crap, he has the anime cough. And that's fatal in most cases. Is everyone settled? The defense is prepared to continue the trial. And the prosecution? I'll be taking over for Prosecutor Nail. How is his condition? He was taken to a local hospital. He'll live, but he's in a coma. To think, a poisoning here in this courtroom. Could this be an attempt to interfere with the trial? Perhaps, but we still have an obligation to the court. The trial will continue. We will discuss the poisoning at a later time. The dosage wasn't lethal, so Nail will be alright. There's still the issue of Gardner's crime. Whoever poisoned my mentor is also probably trying to interfere, meaning they want Gardner to get an acquittal. I must not let him get away with this. Are you sure you can handle the prosecution by yourself? I've taken the bar exam, Your Honor, and I've dealt with a few trials in the past. Very well, I believe we're about to pass a verdict. Your Honor, there is still a few things we haven't discussed. It's over, Cross. I already won. Oh, this isn't about winning, Miss Flocking. If we leave even the smallest piece of evidence without examination, we failed in our obligation to a fair trial. Now, don't try to play the hero. If you're wrong, an innocent man could go to jail. Objection. There's nothing innocent about the defendant. I need to have faith in Nail's deduction. He must have figured out something, or else he wouldn't have continued this trial. Every problem has a solution. I'll find the truth. The prosecution's position remains unchanged. As a matter of fact, there are several pieces of evidence that have not been discussed yet. I believe examining them will further the prosecution's case. This is Rich. Well, Prosecutor Cross, what did we miss? The tripod. This contraption was found at the scene. I see, what is it? I believe it's a tripod for a camera. Your Honor, I fail to see the relevance in this piece of evidence. Yes, I'm having a hard time picturing its purpose. I believe this was the defendant's tripod, which leads us to the question, why did he bring a tripod to the scene of the crime? To take pictures? Oh, well, there's definitely something not right about this tripod. But I can't quite see the relevance right now. Let's save it for a different time and think of something else. Bullet hole is also evidence we haven't seen yet. There were 2 shots fired at that scene. Remind the court, Miss Flocking, where exactly did they land? One of the shots hit the victim. Another one hit the ceiling of the parking garage. And I must have missed that during my investigation. Which begs the question, why was there a bullet hole in the ceiling? Order, could the culprit have simply misfired? Objection, yeah. Your Honor, I believe there's no way the culprit could have misfired. What a bold claim. Tell me, Prosecutor Cross, do you have evidence to prove it? Do I have... yeah. I can prove there's no way the culprit could have misfired. Well, let's watch the prosecution lose. Mr. Cross, I can tell you're testing the waters. Following the rabbit hole too long can be dangerous for your case. Sorry? I don't believe you have the evidence to make any claims about the culprit's ability to aim. In courts, we can't assume something as vague as that. Well, maybe he's right. I shouldn't object every time the exclamation point pops up then. I should carefully through what I have before this time. I don't know. If the culprit misfired the first shot, then the victim would have turned around. He would not have been shot in the back. Likewise, there's no way that he'd have a reason to fire into the ceiling after already shooting him in the back. Well, what does the defense have to say? I think the existence of the second bullet hole fits fine with the current theory. I can't prove the second shot wasn't just an accident. I need to think. Must be a way out of this. Very well, let's... Your Honor, just a moment of your time, please. This had better be good. The court grows weary of your interruptions. If we assume the defendant was involved, he must have left some trace, some way to contract a third party. The defendant have a cell phone in his possession when he was arrested. No phones were found on his personage. The only thing we found was the key to his car. Yeah, I left my phone in the car by mistake. Could you add those keys to the public record, please? If it stops the prosecution from crying, then yes. I know he's lying about something. Alright, let's examine these keys. The only item found when Gardner was arrested. There's a big button that looks like it opens a garage door or something. I'll need to keep that in mind then. But I don't have anything to go on. I need him to slip up. The prosecution would like the defendant to testify. Objection. The prosecution is needlessly drawing out this trial. It does appear that way. What information is to be gained by taking this course of action? Well, I need to hear something we haven't discussed yet. Also, I should be careful about my choices. The judge is growing tired and the court's leaning towards flocking. If I make a mistake, I could be penalized. Time to choose carefully. What can we learn from Gardner? I'm gonna go ahead and save. Oh, it's the autosaver. This is fine. Moment of the murder, why am I with flowers? Why he wears a baseball cap? What should the defendant testify about? Moment of the... Why am I with flowers probably isn't relevant because that's here to... Alright, why he wears a baseball cap isn't really relevant. Not necessarily. But we haven't heard about the moment of the crime from the point of view of the defendant. Oh, that's right, we concluded he couldn't have missed the culprit. But he never gave us the full story. Furthermore, we haven't heard what happened after he left the office. Very well, is the defense prepared to have the defendant testify? It's a waste of time, but I suppose it will do no harm. Like for the prosecution's demise. Defendant, please take the stand. Yeah, testifying, I'll show everyone. I wouldn't hurt a fly. It's time to hit him hard and prove his guilt. I must not fail. Prosecutor Nail is counting on me. Mr. Gardner, please testify about the time during and after the murder. Testimony. Gardner's alibi. Alright, what happened when you left Miss Flower's office? Let's see. Oh yeah! I told her I'd go make sure Yard was alright. How long did it take to get there? Let's see, by the time I went downstairs, yeah, it took about 20 minutes to get to the 5th floor. And you already knew the police would arrive shortly? Yeah, although I was a bit surprised. They got there quicker than I expected. And they totally arrested me on the spot. Yeah, something doesn't seem right. He thought the police would arrive 40 minutes later, because Miss Flowers had told him after she called the police. Yeah, how's that? But why was he so surprised? I can't call him out on it just yet. What did you see at the parking garage? Well, let's see. I saw Yard's body. I was in a bit of shock, yeah. And then you rolled up your car windows? Yeah, that's right. Don't even think about asking why I did such a thing. Looks like I can't shake him on this line of questioning. What did you witness during the moment of the crime? Exactly. I saw a flashlight, yeah. And then Yard fell over. Did you see the second shot? Oh, yeah, actually, Yard didn't fall over immediately. The second shot rang out and he fell down. So the shots were fired before Yard fell over, but which one hit the victim? Do you know if the victim was hit by the first shot or not? Yeah, at the time I couldn't tell. But think about it now, he's definitely hit by the first one. Witness, please explain yourself. Not even the police know which shot was fired first, so how could the defendant have withheld this information? Yeah, how could I? Oh, it's just a matter of reasoning. I know for a fact the second shot was an accident. Gardner, I suggest you stop speaking at once! Your Honor, the defendant knows more than he's letting on. Indeed. If we assume he's connected to the crime, he must know more about it than the police, which means, if I consider what he says is true, it should lead to new conclusions in the evidence. What changes if the second shot was an accident? Shooter. If the second shot was indeed on accident, there must be some reason why the shooter made a mistake. I've been over this, it's not decisive enough. Yeah, there's no way the shooter was even there in the first place. Wait, what? Didn't I tell you before? Tripod was set up next to my car. Wait, you mean your tripod was in spot 7? Yeah, I was right there, and when I arrived at 2:20 AM, it was still standing there. Oh, but what does this mean? The shooter was proven to be in spot 7 or beyond, but Gardner's tripod was in the way. That's it, we'll have the shooter. Yeah, I'm innocent, see? Your Honor, I wish to cross-examine the defendant. On what topic? About when the defendant was arrested. Cross-examination is another aspect of testimonies. When I ask for a cross-examination, I must listen carefully. To prove to the court, the witness's statements don't add up. The goal is to find conflicting statements in the testimony. When I see something out of place, I should object. I can do this by presenting evidence that proves the contradiction. All I have to do is navigate the conflicting statement, and then I open the case files and present the evidence that proves the contradiction. Does the defense have any objections? No. Prosecution is ready to begin, Your Honor. Blocking seems hesitant. I must corner her argument with logic. Mr. Gardner, please testify about your arrest. Cross-examination. Gardner's apprehension. I didn't do anything wrong, yeah. Is it really a crime to place a standing tripod near my car? All I did was raise the windows. Other than that, I didn't touch the crime scene. Yeah, they had no grounds to arrest me. All he did was raise windows. Yeah, right. Time to go back over his testimony and point out the contradiction. Didn't do anything wrong. Is it really a crime to point at a standing tripod near my car? There doesn't appear to be a press option to get additional details, or if there is, I haven't unlocked it yet. All I did was raise the windows. Other than that, I didn't touch the crime scene. Big button looks like a garage door or something. Alright, was on spot 7 of the crime scene. Found under the car on spot 6, fired 2 shots, no fingerprints, likely the murder. Hole in the ceiling. Shooter was at least several meters away. Record of license owners. 2 cars that are seen that are probably relevant. All I did was raise the windows. Yeah, he used the tripod to put the pistol, which fired through the open windows, and he just raised them while he had time. I do quite like this music. All I did was raise the windows. There's a standing tripod near my car. I think this is it, because the tripod was on its side. Hold on, if he places tripod standing... That's it, something else he said contradicts the state of this tripod. So a crime to place a standing tripod near my car? We are. Objection. Witness, you claim that you didn't touch the scene of the crime, but according to your earlier testimony, the tripod was still standing. During the prosecution's investigation, the tripod had already been found on its side. Explain yourself at once, witness. I also knocked over the tripod before they arrived, yeah. So the law attacks without fear. Well done, Mr. Cross. Thank you, Counselor. Now, there's something off about that tripod. Mr. Gardner, please tell the court why your tripod was present. We also need to hear about all the items on your possession, up to and during your arrest. Good call, Your Honor. It did seem strange. The only thing we found was a set of keys. Let's hope I can pin something on him. Cross-examination. Gardner's tools. That tripod's nothing special. I was using it to take pictures, and is it a crime to carry on keys? Yeah. All that's on that key ring is my car key and house key. Those are the things that I had with me all the time. It clearly has a key fob on it, so that's wrong. So you didn't even have a phone or a wallet. I left both as my car. What kind of person forgets their phone? Yeah, that's all I had. Police already investigated his phone and wallet. According to his phone records, no suspicious calls were made. There's not much to go on here. I should focus on what little I do have. That tripod's nothing special. I was using it to take pictures. Is it a crime to carry on keys? Yeah. All that's on that key ring is my car key and house key. Objection. It appears you've left something out in your testimony. Yeah, I did. Will the court please take a look at this key ring? Witness testified the only thing present is his house key and the key to his car. But there's something else here he hasn't told us about. Oh, you're right. What is that button? At first I thought it was an electronic key for his car, but there's already 2 keys here. Furthermore, the defense car doesn't have an electronic lock. Exactly. Where's the prosecution headed with this? Looking back at the footage from Miss Flower's office, Gardner has his hands in his pocket the whole time. Perhaps he was holding it for a reason. Your Honor, I believe this keyring is vital evidence in the case. You can't be serious. I am. This is a bit of a long shot, but... Press the mysterious button on the keyring. I think the next course of action is to figure out what this button is exactly. I'm curious as well. Please proceed. I'm gonna press the button in question. Wait, can't we just ask the witness? I have a reason to believe Gardner is lying, Your Honor. Hold up, there's no precedent. If the defense has an objection, the court will acknowledge it. I guess not. What was that? It was behind me? Oh yeah, the evidence is all stored there. This tripod made a noise when I pressed the button on the keyring. So the tripod is linked to this mysterious button. Gardner had this keyring on when he was in the office, and he had a clear view of the crime scene. He could also control this tripod with a button at any time. If I assume he's directly connected to the murder, then... Your Honor, there's more to this tripod than meets the eye. There is? And you look through every piece of evidence I've had so far. This is where I can turn the case around. Until now, we've assumed it was here for a different purpose, but in reality... The tripod was part of the murder. There were no cameras found at the scene, yet this tripod was clearly here for a reason. There can only be one scenario in which Gardner is guilty. Will the court please take another look at this tripod? What about it? This device responded with a sound when I pressed this button, and the defendant had access to pressing this button at the moment of the murder. So you're saying the defendant pressed this button during the crime? That's right, and that's because this tripod is part of the murder weapon. Ah, please elaborate. Of course, I will demonstrate how this tripod was used to commit murder. Demonstration. This is how the tripod was set up in the parking lot garage, but something's missing. The gun. This pistol was attached to the tripod. What? What the? As expected, a perfect fit. This is unheard of. Is this safe? Not to worry, Your Honor. The gun was empty before the trial. Wait, you're saying the pistol was attached to the tripod? That is correct. Now watch what happens when I push the button. The button made the tripod pull the trigger. Exactly. I think the court can see the next logical conclusion. You mean to say the defendant fired the weapon remotely? Yes, that is the prosecution's current stance. Wait, you can't prove that the defendant pushed that button. Oh, that's an easy one. All we have to do is check the button for fingerprints. That would prove the defendant touched this button. I mean, the prosecution is currently holding the gun and pressed it with his fingerprints, but I guess one could assume he might actually be wearing gloves while doing this. That's what they would do in an actual courtroom demonstration, after all. Have this button absorbed immediately. Objection, let's slow down a bit here. By your theory, the defendant wasn't wearing gloves, which is why you're asking to check the button for fingerprints. Yeah, the gun was found on the defendant's car. And there were no fingerprints found on the pistol. Ah, you mean to say Gardner would have tried to hide the weapon? Yes, and he couldn't do that without touching it. She's right. How could he have hid the weapon without touching it? I have no choice, I need to bluff my way through it. I will demonstrate to the court how it is possible to hide the weapon without touching it. Tip the tripod over. He was able to disassemble this contraption and hid the weapon, because this tripod disassembled itself. I think we now have a sufficient idea of what really occurred. Oh, so, yeah, some tripods do have the ability to collapse like that. Please explain yourself clearly from the beginning. Alright, first, the defendant planned his attack on the victim in advance. He was able to set his contraption up in a secluded area, where he had access to gloves, therefore no fingerprints were left. Then he pulled up to spot 6 before 2 a.m. He set up the tripod in spot 7 and aimed at the victim's car. He also made sure the windows were down. Why would he do that? Because making the shot from behind his car would conceal the tripod. This ensures the victim wouldn't see the device as he entered the car. Oh, I see. Please continue. Then he went across the street to the office building. There, he had a clear view of the crime scene and the victim. All he had to do was press the button at 2 a.m. to murder Mr. Yard. But there were 2 shots fired, and one of them was on the ceiling. Exactly, and there was a secondary effect to the weapon firing. At 2 a.m., Gardner pushed the button, causing the device to fire. With the force, the gun's shot caused the tripod to tip over. And as it was tipping, the gun fired again. Why would it do that? Because the defendant wasn't sure if the shot was successful. Remember, Gardner testified the second shot occurred before the victim fell over, but he was certain the first shot hit. As the second shot rang out, the tripod was in the middle of falling. The angle of its tilt caused the bullet to hit the ceiling. Now, think about what would happen when the tripod falls over. The gun would detach from the tripod. At this point, the victim had fallen over. Meanwhile, Miss Flowers called the police and tells the defendant that they won't arrive for 40 minutes. Thinking he had plenty of time, Gardner moved over the crime scene, but he saw the device was in pieces and knew he couldn't leave fingerprints. He simply kicked the gun under his car. Prosecution's demonstration is complete. Nice. No, this can't be. All he could do was roll up his windows and pretend that the killer was in spot 05, but in reality it was all Gardner's doing. No, but yeah. Little did he realize the police would be able to arrive early, and that one mistake will be his downfall. The prosecution rests. Order. These are some very bold claims. Objection. The prosecution has no proof. Sir, the results are back. Fingerprint analysis. Well, the fingerprints on the button. They are, sir. Clear signs of pressing this button. Evidence updated. This is decisive evidence that proves the prosecution's claim. The defendant did press this button to murder the victim. It would certainly seem that way. This is it. Justice will prevail. Objection. She still has an objection? Perhaps the gun was not attached when the defendant pressed the button. Wait, what? We can't be certain when the fingerprints were left, only that they were left. As much as I hate to say it, Flocking has a very good point here. Ultimately, these are Gardner's keys, and so it only makes sense his fingerprints would be on them. Your Honor, what purpose would the defendant have in pressing this button, other than to fire this gun? I can't think of anything. But what if the defendant was set up? The defense is proposing the impossible. Gardner was the only one at the scene. Indeed, objection overruled. I believe this trial has gone on for long enough. Yes, this is it. Objection. Dang, so this is what it's like to be on the other side of an ace attorney. I believe our defendant has something to say. They're still trying to worm their way out of this? Yeah, I definitely saw something else at the scene of the crime. But we proved your tripod was set up to remotely fire a gun. He also openly admitted that he was the one who set it up. Consider this, someone used my tripod to fire their gun. But the button that activates this device was found on your keyring, and you had it with you at 2 a.m. Yeah, but who said it was always there? Yeah. What if the killer just planted the button on me? He would have had to steal the keys and then place it back in your pocket. You would have noticed something like that. Yet, you haven't testified to anything of the sort. That's because it would incriminate him for a crime he didn't commit. The defendant chose not to testify to this fact, exercising his right to remain silent. This sounds mysterious, and yet, it's not impossible. Objection overruled. No, he's definitely lying. Alright, witness, please testify about this new information. Alright, since this is updated, let's see. The only item when he was found, the button causes tripod to fire a weapon. Gardner's fingerprints are on the button. I wish to cross-examine this testimony, Your Honor. Permission granted. Let us begin. Cross-examination. The other suspect. I didn't see anyone when the shots went off. However, before I left the office, I saw someone next to the victim. Yeah, they totally ran away after I spotted them for that button. I lost my key ring when I left my car. I must have dropped it. The killer must have put this button there to frame me. Yeah, how'd I do? There's all sorts of holes in that testimony. Mr. Gardner, the keys were found on your person. Yeah? So? How'd you acquire them when the police arrived? The answer's obvious, isn't it? Yeah, it's, obvious. I found them on the ground when I returned to my car. And as he begins to panic, his lies are following. Did you find it strange the mysterious button was on your key ring? Nope. So you didn't even notice that it was there? Yeah, I mean, no. Get your facts straight. Watch it, Cross. Yes, Mr. Cross, watch it. I noticed the button was on there, but I swear I didn't touch it. Something wrong with that last statement, Prosecutor Cross. Indeed there is, Your Honor. That's because it contradicts this piece of evidence. I believe the defendant has forgotten something we only just discussed. That just mere moments ago we received an analysis from the police department that proves your fingerprints were on this button. No. Just as the court can see, you press this button. I can only think of one reason why the defendant would press it. He intended to fire the gun attached to the tripod. Order, settle down. I believe we've discussed this issue already. The defendant is clearly lying. Objection. I think Mr. Gardner needs to revise his testimony. Everything should become clear in a second. Yeah, I forgot to tell you. I pressed the button out of curiosity after I found it. Sorry about that. I didn't know any better. Yeah. Very well, objection sustained. How many times is he going to correct his statement? Please proceed with the cross-examination. The only found when he was arrested, the button. The prints are on the button. I saw someone next to the victim. Yeah, they totally ran away after I spotted them. That button. I lost my keyring went off my car. I must have dropped it. The killer must have put this button on there to frame me. I pressed the button out of curiosity after I found it. Sorry about that. I didn't know any better. Yeah. This is probably the last one, so I need to be sure I get it. I must say, this is getting a strong, good first impression, giving both a bit of a jury system, a semi-jury system, as well as the usual Ace Attorney stuff. But, of course, I need to bring this all home. The shooter had to be several meters away. It couldn't have been next to him. That statement is contradictory. This evidence proves my point. And what point is that? Points of defense for that point. I should think again. Yeah, they totally ran away after I spotted them, as that button, I lost my key ring off my car. I must have dropped it. But there to frame me. I feel there's something obvious here. Alright. Didn't see anyone when the shots went off. Yeah, they totally ran away after spotted them. As for that button, lost my key, went off my car. Must have dropped it. I must have put this button there to frame me. Didn't know any better. Yeah, right, there's no way he pressed it out of curiosity. I need some way to prove how and when he really pressed it. How and when. Oh, maybe the ID card. Oh, before I left the office, I saw someone next to the victim. Oh, neat. The mouth is moving a bit so when the text is out. That's cool. I like little touches like that. Lost my keyring when I left my car. Must have dropped it. Pressed the button out of curiosity after I found it. Because there's only 2 shots fired, not there would have been a third if he had tried it. The witnesses claim to have pressed the button after the shooting occurred. If we assume Miss Flowers' testimony is accurate, then there were 2 shots fired at 2 a.m. See, I'm a bit lost. Mr. Gardner testified that he pushed that button after the crime happened, yet pressing this button would have resulted in a gunshot. There's a clear contradiction here, because there were only 2 shots fired from this gun. Oh, wait. I see. There was no third gunshot. He had to have pressed that button at the time of the crime. Ah, I'm done for. Objection sustained. This is decisive, irrefutable evidence. I can see in no way that the defendant is innocent of this crime. Yes, I did it. Let's prepare to pass judgment on Mr. What is the meaning of this? The prosecution just proved their own demise. What do you mean? You just stated that when Gardner pressed this button, it would fire a gun. And that is right, so but you didn't show the court earlier that when the device fell over, the gun was detached. Therefore, when Gardner pressed the button out of curiosity, it wouldn't have fired the gun. That possibility does exist. I see, so there were only 2 shots because by the time he pressed the button, the device was already in pieces. Correct, Your Honor. I can't prove the theory wrong, and they could just claim the true killer is wearing gloves. And then Gardner just pressed it after shooting. Think, what should I do? I hate to say it, but so long as the possibility exists, we cannot call a verdict. I'll ask both of you to investigate further on this matter. But no, we can't let him get away. Time's up, Cross, but if you put up a good fight, very commendable. Flocking, this isn't over. Oh, you forget who calls the shots. It's not my decision. That is quite enough. I can't give up. If I wait to investigate, it'll give him more time to fabricate lies, not to mention Nail's assailant still out there. If I fail to put him behind bars now, there could be serious consequences. But if I'm poisoned next... wait, please, one moment. I grow tired of interruptions in the prosecution. I mean, we just got a bunch from the defendants. I do think we're being fair. This is where you and I are a lot cross. What do you mean? We're both here doing our jobs because we believe in something. Well, you're wrong. There's no question. The facts don't lie. How could there be different opinions when I have the proof right here? You haven't proved a thing, Conrad. You've just been laying up to the court with the spectacle of surprise. Funny how things just lined up for you. You could mistake any new discovery to be in your favor with the right set of words. That's what you've been doing, right? Face the truth, Cross. A human being's life is at stake. Am I really doing the right thing? No, not now. I can't give up now. I do not fault her at all for doing her job. At the end of the day, she's here for a reason, and it's even possible she really does believe in her client, so... Are they looking down at me? Nobody. I can't accuse someone of murder. What if I'm wrong? What if I've been drawing the wrong conclusions this whole time? Is the prosecution able to continue? Why are you doing this? I can't give up. I can't give up. Maybe that's what she wants. Nail, he would want me to continue. I got this far. I can't quit now. Come on, keep fighting. Flocking is wrong. The guilty will be punished. Your Honor, I wish to... Sir, urgent message. A bailiff? What's the message? Important piece of testimony. Testimony? Miss Flowers wishes to speak on something she just remembered. I assume this is important. Very well, please bring her to the stand. Yes, sir. Alright, well, Miss Flowers, what is it you remember? I just remembered something about Mr. Gardner's visit. It didn't seem important at the time, but listening to the argument, it could prove Mr. Gardner's guilt. Tell us immediately. Testimony, Flowers, revelation. What do you remember about Gardner's visit to your office? This is after the crime had taken place. On his way out, I tried to call the police. Mr. Gardner dropped something on the floor. Yes, I'm sure of it. He snatched up really quick. And what was he dropped? I think it was his keys. I don't see how this proves the defendant's guilt at all. That's right, Your Honor. Something's not adding up. Flocking looks nervous. This testimony help me in any way? At the very least, it disproves Gardner's last testimony. My logic up to this point's been sound. If we assume everything else is correct, there's just one thing that doesn't fit. Would the court please recall Mr. Gardner's earlier testimony? Yes, I believe he claimed someone planted the button on his keyring. Correct, we had just spent a long time arguing over this matter. However, this new testimony puts any doubts to rest. If Miss Flowers witnessed Gardner dropping his keys, that means he never left them behind. Oh, that's right. If he had them with him the whole time, no one could have modified this button. The defendant has been committing perjury in the court. Ah, this can't be. I think I've heard enough. Counselors, your verdicts, please. Yes, come on. With pleasure. Guilty. Very solid case, Mr. Cross. I think you have a bright future ahead of you. Guilty. That settles it then. We already know the decision. However, I too am very impressed with the prosecution's work today. I think Mr. Cross deserves to see my vote as well. Guilty. Unfortunately, the fact that Miss Flowers just came in at the end with something particularly damning is highly questionable. Well, perhaps I was right, the defense attorney, Miss Flocking, really does believe in her client. But if that's true, ooh, then that means this has been set up. Oh dear. The defendant is guilty of all charges. I did it. I can't believe it. Any last words, Flocking? Well played, Cross. Tell Nail his work is superb as always. If it wasn't for Nail, I wouldn't have stood a chance. Right then, that is all. Yeah, no animosity. They're just two lawyers doing their job. Bailiff, please escort the defendant to the holding cell. Court adjourned. Guess we're in the recess room now. Well, Cross, you fought hard. No hard feelings? Of course, we're only here to do our job. Now you're starting to see clearly. But maybe you did your job a little too well. What do you mean? You defended a guilty man to the bitter end. Do you know of his crime, or did you believe he was innocent? You still have much to learn, Cross. But shouldn't we all be fighting for the truth? We should fight for justice. Justice, don't use that word lightly, my friend. Everyone deserves a proper defense, Cross. Whether they're guilty or not matters little to me. I just want to be able to say I did my job at the best of my ability. So it's a defense attorney's job to defend the guilty? Sometimes that is the case, even worse as we get blamed for it. But in due time, you'll grow and understand. For now, however, enjoy the celebrations. Good luck with your endeavors. Oh, one last thing. Seeing you behind the prosecutor's bench? You completely changed from when I saw you yesterday. Is that so? I can tell this must be taking a toll on you. Well, Nail would have wanted me to be strong in court. I only did what I had to do in order to ensure justice was dealt. That's the defining quality of a prosecutor. Nail really would be proud. That was a surprisingly amicable little exchange. I'm really glad. It's actually quite refreshing to see one like that. Usually there's a pretty heavy rivalry in the Ace Attorney series, but it's nice seeing two lawyers being respectful about their roles. At any rate, it's not my job to defend. Nail trained me to put criminals behind bars, and that's what I'm going to keep doing for as long as I can. Ross, hello. Oh, Miss Flowers. You did wonderful out there. Well, I couldn't have done it without the last testimony. It was nothing. I just want to see Mr. Yard's killer brought to justice. Almost gave up a few times. That's right. Sometimes it seemed impossible to continue. But you powered through, and for that, we now know the true culprit. As long as I don't give up, as long as I keep on fighting, even at the worst of times, I still have a chance. What do you say we get something to eat? You know what? That sounds nice. I could use a break about now. Ah, wait, I forgot. I'm still missing something important. I can't go anywhere until I find it. Hold on a minute. You're missing something? I think I might have what you're looking for. Her ID card. Because we borrowed it, remember? Is it your ID card? Oh, that's it. I can't believe you found it. Yeah, I can't believe it either. Now we can go eat. Dinner's on me. Actually, it's closer to lunchtime. Lunch, but that means I'm gonna be late. If anything, Miss Flowers, it means you'll be early. I was so relieved that the case was over. This was the moment that motivated me to become who I am today. I thought I would be pursuing criminals for my entire life. But in the grand scheme of a lifetime, nothing goes according to plan. Two years later. Only 2? Interesting. Afraid of heists. That case was pretty short, so I'm gonna go into the next one a little bit. Sir, the crime scene's in here. Very well, who's in charge of this investigation? That would be Detective Dare. He's right he's right inside. Thank you, officer. That will be all. I better head inside. This seems like a complex situation. Ooh, an old-fashioned bank robbery. So you're the renowned Conrad Cross. Yes, that would be me. I'm Derek Dare, and I'm in charge of this investigation. You're the detective. That's right, best in town, if I might add. I guess we're just throwing humility out the window. Well then, Detective Dare. I know that formal stuff. Everyone calls me Double Dare. Right, why can't I ever be a normal person? Well then, Double Dare, what happened here exactly? Oh, we got ourselves a classic case of robbery. Some bloke walked in around 11:30 a.m. threatening everyone with a gun. That sounds very scary. Was anyone harmed? From the specific robbery, everyone was alright. Well, that's good to hear. But we had a second incident on the 9th floor. Yes, I've heard about that. Looks like some poor fellow was pushed out the window. It's a murder? That's right, looks like we got a classic double crime. Does everything come in twos for this guy? Yes, sir, I was double dared to investigate both incidents. So you're saying the incidents are related? Yep, and we've already pinned the culprit. I won't be so quick with the assumptions, detective. Right, I almost forgot. Everyone deserves defense, is that right? Even the guilty, huh? Not everyone suspected of a crime is guilty. Oh my, well, if it wasn't obvious before, yeah, we're on the defense's job this time. We'll see. Regardless, I do hope you'll find something decisive. I hope so, too. Feel free to ask questions, I'll be right over there. I'll have to ask more about the case later. My name is Conrad Cross. I'm a defense attorney, though I never get used to thinking of it. Something changed in me last year. I chose a different path in life, but I can't think of that now. Today's case is twofold, a bank robbery and a murder. The police believe both cases are linked with a single suspect. My client. I have to speak with him once I'm done investigating. My goal is to clear him of all charges. He must be found innocent. I better get to it. I need 2 things in here. Like always, I need to inspect the traces left behind from the criminal. Also, I should speak to those involved with the case. Once I've completed the investigation, I'll be prompted to continue. No better time to start than now, I guess. Give me a quick glance at everything I need to look at. Investigation. The bank lobby. This seems out of place. That's because it is. How so? Oh, I have no clue. I could have figured out that much on my own. I assume during the robbery there was a bit of commotion. Maybe one of the employees dropped this. I'll keep a record of it just to be safe. Money bag. All it's missing is the $sign. Are those whiteboards or tablets? Probably whiteboards, since this appears to, what more can I say? Detective in charge of the investigation. Very extreme. Money bag. This was found in the lobby. Was it used by the culprit? Nothing in the garbage can. The officer's staring at the wall. What are you investigating? This wall. Oh, is there a clue there? Not that I can say, sir. Really top-of-line officers here. Only question is, who's more trustworthy between them and Jerry? I don't think I'll be able to figure it out. So this is the vault. Looks empty? Apparently this criminal got away with some items from here. But I don't understand how this whole vault was cleared. It was emptied for the investigation. When we found it, it was barely touched. I'll make a note of that in my files then. That's odd. So the criminal only touched a fraction of what was in here? This is some pretty good music. Interesting. Huh, seems like there's a bullet hole here. Apparently there was a warning shot fired at the receptionist. Seems likely this is from that shot. Something's off. The design of this wall seems not right. Maybe they moved some things around for the investigation? The hole probably left by the culprit's warning shot. Luckily I was only a warning. That must have been a traumatic experience. Yeah, it looks like there was a painting there at some point. This trash probably actually has something in it. This door supposedly goes the stairway. The murder happened on the 9th floor. Sadly, Dare's investigation's busy up there. I'll try again later. Towers. Hello, welcome to Prosperity Bank. Can I take your order? Are you the receptionist? Yes, that's me, Ray Towers. I was here when the incident occurred. Apparently the criminal threatened her. I'm sorry you had to go through that. It must have been scary. Oh, it's no deal. We're trained on what to do in emergencies. Now, can I help you with something? Maybe you need a checking account? No. I'd like to hear what happened from your perspective. I'm the defense attorney in this case. I'm here to investigate. Oh, that's interesting, but sadly I can't talk about what happened. Why not? I have a lawyer too, and he said to keep quiet until I can organize my story. He said if I'm not careful, my testimony could backfire. I guess that is true. Can't blame her. Alright, you're gonna testify in front of the court, right? Probably. I should have everything ready by tomorrow. Sorry about that. Then I'll just have to hear the story tomorrow. Thank you for your time. No problem. Next in line, please. Why are all my witnesses like this? At least our protagonist has a reasonable hairstyle, unlike Phoenix. I'm sure he'd insist it's nice and pointy. Well, this looks like a side room of some sort. All sorts of things are on display here. Nothing too important except for... The stand looks like it should hold something. Looks like one of the displays is missing from this room. I'll keep that in mind. Side room, one of the displays is missing. Could be important. Looks like I could pull some double stunts with dual weapons. Let's not get any ideas, detective. Crime details. What can you tell me about the crime? The crime, huh? It happened during 11:30 a.m. this morning. A masked figure walked in and demanded money from the vault. And the person was successful in their attempt to steal? Yeah, apparently, the receptionist opened the vault for him. I see. It was a close call. The criminal even fired a warning shot. I found the gun that was used. 2 steps ahead of you, Cross. We found it. Oh, dang. Where? Oh, it was on the 9th floor. Scene of the murder. 2 steps, huh? I presume you performed an analysis then? Whoa, slow down there, buddy. Double steps means a double process. These things take time. Is that a joke? So you haven't taken a look at the gun or on the 9th floor yet? I'll get to it, don't worry. You there. Yes, detective? It's Dare. Call me Double Dare. Yes, sir. Double Dare, sir. I'm starting to feel bad for the investigation team. Perform an analysis of the gun we found upstairs, on the double. Right away, Double Dare, sir. I'm starting to think this detective is double trouble. Ah, it's spreading. This does feel very authentic. Alright, so the murder scene was upstairs, correct? On the 9th floor, yep. Poor lad fell from there. Landed in the courtyard. And you think he was pushed? That's right. Why do you think that? It happened around the same time as the bank robbery. Not to mention, the window up there is broken. So someone broke the window to push him out? That's what everyone's saying, but we're running tests right now. For fingerprints, I'm guessing, and the autopsy report. I'd like to investigate the 9th floor as well. No can do, Cross. We're still performing preliminary analysis up there. Also, he is up there. Detective, the pronoun game is no fun. Who are you talking about? You know, your opponent in court tomorrow. He means, so the prosecutor for this case is already on the scene. Yep, always the first on the scene, that one. So am I facing a new prosecutor? I wouldn't say new, he's supposedly the best at what he does. The best? Sounds a little arrogant. Between you and me, man, that's exactly right. You don't underestimate the guy, he hasn't lost a case yet. Hasn't lost a case? That sounds nearly impossible. Impossible is my middle name. Officer, ready my stunt bike. Yes, sir, right away, on the double. That's what I like to hear. On second thought, maybe I should wrap up this conversation. Do you know anything else about this new prosecutor? Just his name, goes by Thorn. Thorn, huh? Yeah, he thinks he's some kind of royal guard. Forget I asked. I recommend you watch yourself. Never know when you'll get pricked by the thorn. I sense this is only the beginning of prickly puns. Alright, thank you for the information, detective. Looks like I've investigated everything in the lobby. When I'm ready to leave, I should inspect the main door. I need to study the location where the victim landed. I'm sure I want to leave. This is the last chance to investigate this room. I should have everything, then. The game is unlikely to allow me to continue until I have everything. Hey, Detective Dare, I'd like to investigate the victim's landing spot. Sure thing, man. I'd best head there myself. Don't tell me he hasn't started investigating outside either. I'll walk you out. So this is where the victim died? Yes, sir. Looks pretty straightforward. There's still a few things I need to check. Do you have an autopsy report in progress? Uh-huh. Officer. Yes, sir. Have you started the, analysis? Maybe I should be a detective instead of a lawyer. Hey, fellow attorney at law. Who is that? I knew you'd show up. What a cool job you have, Mr. Attorney. Thanks. And you are? Chloe McCarthy, attorney at law. Oh, you're a lawyer. Doesn't seem very, serious. Well, actually, I'm studying to be a defense attorney. Oh, so she's a student. But that doesn't mean I can't investigate, too. Actually, it does. Only authorized personnel belong here. Yeah, I'm authorized. I'm related to the case. Oh, yeah, I forgot. Chloe here is the witness to our murder. You saw the moment of the crime? Sure did. Saw it clear as day on a clear day. Wait, let me clarify. Yes, it's a clear day today. You could have just looked up at the sky. My name is Conrad Cross. I'm the defense attorney on this case. I'd like to ask you a few questions about what you saw. Wow, so cool. I'll cooperate on one condition. I don't think it works like that. I'll tell you everything I know if you let me investigate with you. Isn't that a crime? I know what you're thinking, but it's not actually a crime. This area is restricted to investigators involved with the case, and I can't just give out details of the investigation. Oh, but this book says you can just refer to me as an assistant. And why would I need an assistant? Come on, Mr. Cross, weren't you an assistant at one point? Yes. So you must know how useful they can be. Assisting is dangerous work. I don't have the time to go around in circles with the witnesses. I need to investigate as much as possible today. I suppose I have no choice. I guess this is gonna be the Maya Fey. Yeah, for this game. Very well, you can be my assistant. Team of 2, double power. Yeah, thanks, Mr. Cross. But just for this investigation, you have a lot to learn before you can stand in court. Ah, Mr. Cross, my new mentor. By the way, that book is outdated. I read it years ago. Oh, I guess I'll swap up the new edition. You had that book the whole time. Why didn't you read from it first? Right, there's not a lot that needs to be investigated here, at least. This time, I'll have an assistant following me. I can speak to my assistant the same way I would any other person. However, I can also ask my assistant about the case at any time. I should ask her about what she saw while I'm looking around. Let's begin the investigation. Investigation, the bank courtyard. Actually, that reminds me, they didn't touch on the motive too much last time. I mean, it was pretty clear it was to remove a person's debt, but they didn't actually bring that up in court very much. Oh, a dumpster. Is that how your investigations normally go? Not normally. Maybe there's something important in there? Do you think... No, I'm not going in the dumpster. No, I meant, do you think there's anything related to the crime in there? Oh, well, no. Well, that was pointless. Fountain. This is a nice fountain. Almost makes you forget about, you know, the whole murder thing. Maybe he would have lived and he landed in the fountain. I doubt it. Yeah, it doesn't look like it's a very deep fountain. Why? This looks useful. That's odd. This looks like a spear. Oh, I know what this is used for. It says here that ancient warriors would use spears to fight. They're especially effective against cavalry. Right. They also beat swords in the weapon triangle, but what's it doing here? Maybe there's a battle here. I doubt it. I remember seeing something in the side, similar in the side room. One of the display mounts was missing something. A spear belonging to that display. Interesting. It's entirely possible that the bank robbery was entirely fabricated to murder whoever the poor person who died is. So this is where the victim landed. Yeah. A detective, do you have a photo of the body when it's still here? Yes, I do. Here it is, hot off the camera. Thank you. Now let's see here. This is Bill Ground. He looks like he's in pretty bad shape. Nothing out of the ordinary for now, but I'll hold on to the picture. So what exactly did you witness? Well, Mr. Cross, I saw the crime. Yeah, but what exactly? Well, this is a bit of a hard subject. Oh, she did witness a murder after all. I can understand her hesitation. It's okay. Take your time. Well, I saw the victim falling. I was at the library all morning, then when I started walking home, I looked over at the bank from the sidewalk, and I saw him. I saw the victim fall from the 9th floor window. And this was around noon? That's right, I didn't say anything else. You didn't see who pushed him? No, it was too far away. Well, this at least confirms the victim fell to his death. Thanks to the testimony, this is very helpful. Chloe McCarthy, ace information giver, woo! So you're a student, Chloe? That's right, well, maybe. I'm not attending any classes, it's more like, independent study. So you're not even in law school. I'm planning to go, once I have the money. I can recommend a few schools for you if you'd like, but it's getting competitive out there. Courts have been speeding up for years now. Cases were getting backlogged to the point new ones come in faster than we can get to the old ones. As a result, some pretty drastic changes are made for the justice system. Oh, you mean the counselors? That's right, and there's been a big push for more lawyers, more defense attorneys, prosecutors. This way we're able to tackle backlog cases from over 40 years ago. Oh wow, that means they've been pushing for younger lawyers as well? Exactly, new lawyers bring incitement to the courtroom, which is the other effect of these changes. The courts have become a show. Show? Cases are dramatized and played up for the crowd. In fact, a lot of cases are televised as well. Nowadays, it's all about the spectacle. The truth rarely matters. Anyways, we got off topic. I'm sure you'll be a great lawyer one day, and I hope you can learn something from this investigation. You're the best, Mr. Cross. Thank you so much. You understand the details of the current case? Oh, I know this one. Yes, there was a robbery and a murder. I was there after all. Right, I believe both incidents happened around noon. You think the culprit's the same in both crimes? It's a bit early to say, but the prosecution believes so. Well, the prosecution sounds exciting. Yeah, we don't have many details right now, but we have several witnesses to the robbery incident. Ah, witnesses! I thought you said you were studying to be a lawyer. We should get back to work. Well, I think that's everything. Wasn't too much to do here. So we're down at this location, right, Mr. Cross? Just Conrad's fine, yes. And we've collected all we can from the crime scene. I think Dare's team is still working on the 9th floor. So what's next? Hold on, I said you could accompany for this investigation. The investigation's over. You should prepare for your testimony. Oh, but I have to stick with my mentor. You said I was your mentor. Cheated. Please, Conrad, please teach me. Ever since I was a little girl, I wanted to learn. I promised myself I could help those involved with crime. And being an attorney is the best way to do that. I can be an attorney without my help. You seem to be doing just fine with all those law books. I've been reading about law for years, but I've never been involved with any real-life case. Please, this is my chance to show the world I can be an attorney. And I can start as your permanent assistant. I know you need the help. You seem stressed. I already know everything about this case. I believe in finding the truth. We can solve this together. I want to help. This is my one chance to help. Sounds a lot like I used to be when I was younger. I mean, it was only 2 years ago. Well, Nail really helped me when I was a student. Maybe it's time to return the favor. Alright, this is a rare opportunity to learn more about the law. You can be my assistant, take good notes, and I won't be slowing down. Take good notes, I won't be slowing down for you. And you have to put a lot of work in. This is a criminal case after all. I understand. Thank you, sir. Conrad is still fine. When the trial begins, you'll be in the gallery. Alright, thanks for the chance, Conrad. I won't let you down. Now what can I do as your assistant? I don't know. I guess I keep track of the evidence. You got it. Chloe McCarthy, on the job. We should go talk to the defendant. He might have some more info for us. I should interact with the taxi when I'm ready to go. The defendant's still waiting at the detention center. Ah, there's the taxi. Alrighty, let's head over to the detention center. This is the detention center. Oh, I see. Is the defense waiting here? Yes, this is where we can speak to him. He should be in the middle cell. Oh, nice. We're actually in an actual... feels like we're in an actual prison now. I mean, the backgrounds in Ace Attorney work just fine, but... like I said, it does feel nice to actually be able to travel in these areas. Oh, I can't speak to the corrections officer here. No one in there. Hey, where are you going? Alright, so yeah, he's the only one who can enter here. This is a pretty big area. Though I guess we might get more use out of it later. Bridges. Are you Mr. Bridges? Yes, are you two with that other guy? What other guy? We're your defense team. We're here to prove your innocence. Yes, my name is Conrad Cross, and this is my assistant. Chloe McCarthy, nice to meet you. Oh, so thank goodness, I was so worried. It's nice to meet you in person. I'm Oliver Bridges, engineer. Looks like I'm caught up in this mess. Right, I believe you told me as much when we spoke on the phone. Though they didn't believe me, I'm innocent. We'll do everything in our power to get you an acquittal, but that requires cooperation. What we need to know is, where were you when you were arrested? I was on the 9th floor at the scene of the crime. And why were you there? You believe me, right? Yes, we believe in your innocence. I wouldn't be standing here if I didn't, so you have to trust us. Alright, I was managing my bank account. The receptionist showed me upstairs. I really didn't see anything suspicious. I'm sorry, this has all been so terrible. It's alright, I can tell you're nervous, but you don't need to worry. Can't you tell us any more? I'm sorry, I don't want to. Looks like there's some tears in his eyes when his eyes are closed. Though I guess that could be intentional. Well, maybe. There are some scenes where I imagine there's going to be some scenes very soon where it's relevant. Alright, that's alright. I understand. We'll get to the bottom of this, I promise. Now, if you'll excuse us, we need to review Oh, this is the part we go over the case so far, right? Yeah, why don't you give it a shot? Key players are Ground, Bridges, the receptionist, and the true culprit. Alright, so around 11:30, the culprit walked to the bank with a gun. Then they threatened the receptionist by firing a warning shot. The shot hit behind the receptionist's desk. After that, the receptionist opened the vault. The robber stole money from there and fled the scene. The criminal went upstairs and was caught by Ground. Maybe Ground learned his identity and was killed to keep the secret. Or maybe Ground tried to fight the robber and lost. Whatever the reason, we're probably looking at a single suspect. 2 crimes, 1 suspect, and we don't even have a lead on their identity. Ground was pushed out the window around 11:45, and Bridges happened to be at the scene when the police arrived. I think that's about it, right? There's not a lot to go on. We'll have to make do with what we have. Let's get some rest before the trial tomorrow. Alright, we can do this. Don't be late. I need you to take notes on how I defend the client. Can do. I'll be there bright and early. Ah, my phone. Oh, that's actually gonna... I was wondering what that good music was all about. Hello? Oh, right. Now's not a good time. Tomorrow. That's close to the scene of the crime. Alright, we'll talk tomorrow then. Who is that? It's a friend. She has information on the crime scene. She's part of the reason I took this case, actually. Oh, I see you have a friend. Oh, it's not like that. Anyways, I'll have to meet her tomorrow. Well, we should be thinking about the case at hand. Wait a minute. Ah, Ram, what are you doing here? Conrad, who's this? This is James Ram. He works for the government. Sorry to intrude, Mr. Cross. I wouldn't take up much of your time. Is there something you need? I'm trying to make him sound like a noir detective. It's a bit hard. I'm here to let you know that your current investigation is related to you-know-what. No, it can't be. Fear not. If you can find the true culprit, all will remain well. And if that defendant, what if the defendant's guilty? Oh, I'm quite sure he's innocent. That's why he was really here. He must have already interrogated our client. I didn't give you permission to speak with the defendant. Mr. Cross, have you forgotten who I work for? Relax, he's quite fine. How is it even possible for the data to be a threat? One of the hard drives was destroyed. No, it was a fake? You're not to speak to anyone about this. If we fail to determine the culprit, all of our lives will be at risk. Conrad, what's he talking about? You take care. We'll be watching your efforts. Oh, well, that's a lot of bit intrigue, isn't it? Conrad, what was that? You knew that guy. What were you talking about? I don't know if I should tell you. It could be dangerous. Conrad, if we're going to be working this case together, then we need to be honest with each other. Alright, but keep it a secret. A while ago, I was contacted by the government. They were running an investigation and needed help. They were short on staff and needed to solve this one case. Anyways, Ram was the one that hired me. What's all this about data? Do you know of the '04 incident? Oh, I know a bit. That's the one where the... Oh, crap, if I say that, YouTube might get mad at me. Where, nasty people broke into a military complex, right? That's right. They planned the attack for years and were more than prepared. It was a heist. The target was a group of experimental missiles. They end up stealing 5 nuclear warheads. Holy shit! Luckily, they couldn't be activated without the launch codes. Oh, and they didn't have the codes. Yes, but to this day, they still have the missiles. That's why this data is so important. I don't understand. They call it the Zero Data. Let's just say it has a lot of very important information related to the military. Among that information lies the launch codes for those warheads. Ah, and they tried to steal it. Yeah, in a way. The data exists as a series of hard drives. Those are the things that store information on computers, right? Correct, you need 3 hard drives to access the data. Without all 3, the information won't decrypt. Essentially, it becomes worthless. Only by combining all 3 drives can one access the launch codes. Okay, so that's why Cross felt safe when he thought one was destroyed, because with only 2, it's impossible to decrypt. However, there are also 3 fakes. Fakes? They're identical to the real drives, but contain useless data. They were made in case anyone tried to steal them. So where are they now? I'm not sure. I thought one of them was destroyed, rendering them useless, but Ram wouldn't have been here if that was the case. Those hard drives still exist, I'm sure of it. How's it related to our case? The criminal got away with the contents of the vault. It seems likely the true culprit stole the Zero Data from the bank. That's insane! Why would the bank have the data? I don't know, but that's the only option that makes sense. If we can find the criminal, we can find where they hid the data. That's why Ram wants us to succeed. And if we don't? then it's highly possible that they could launch a nuke. This is really bad. We have to solve this case. Right. So much for this being a normal trial. I must not fail. I must push through. We can't tell Bridges about any of this. We don't want to start a panic. This is scary. We really don't have any evidence that can help our case. Let's just hope the prosecution's investigation is completed by tomorrow. I'm sure they'll discover something I can use. After all, if I can't defend the client, a nuclear winter could become our future. Oh, dang. Some political intrigue on top of it. Nice. One thing to worry about when a game is inspired by something else is worrying if it becomes a bit too much like it without standing out, but having it starting as the prosecution and then having some political intrigue like this, I think this game could be very interesting. Of course, time will tell, but well, hope for the best, prepare for the worst. The trial for the murder of Pearl Ground is now in session. As always, we'll be providing assistance to His Honor. Agreed. It's a little early to start taking sides. Well, Your Honor, I believe you've forgotten to introduce me. Oh, right. My introduction should take precedence over the other proceedings. Your exit from the courtroom takes precedence over that. We have a new prosecutor today. Sorry, little chap, I'm not new. I've been handled plenty of cases in my time. Rather, he's new to this country. Indeed, I shall be making quite the mark during my stay. But what kind of mark? Please welcome Prince Jacob Thorne with open arms. A pleasure. Prince Thorne. I hail from a very royal family, in fact the most royal of all. Prince Thorne is the direct descendant of the Queen of England. It is of the utmost importance that we accommodate him. Quite, please pay no mind to my guards. I would have them leave, but my humble mother insisted. Can we start the trial now? I presume the prosecution's ready? You presume correctly. Save the Queen. And the defense? Oh, trust me, the Queen is the one person who absolutely does not need saving. The defense is ready, Your Honor. Sir Cross, a pleasure to do battle with you today. Likewise. Good, good. Today we shall joust until death. Alright then, how does the defense plea? We wish to attempt to complete acquittal, Your Honor. I expect nothing less, Cross. It's always an interesting trial when you're behind the bench. Is that a compliment or an insult? Now, will the prosecution please deliver their statement? With honor, Your Honor. On the morning of the day before the 12th hour, the Bank of Prosperity was robbed of its prosperity. I've had enough word games for one lifetime. The culprit entered the bank wielding a pistol. The weapon was actually recovered from the crime scene. I'll have my guards added to the public record. After entering, he held up the receptionist. Pistol found on the upper floors bears the fingerprints of Bridges. It looks like it's in pretty bad shape. After entering, he held up the receptionist. The vault was open for him and he committed the deed. So he stole money directly from the vault. And then he made his escape. Sadly, Your Majesty, it's not like the cinema. Did he just promote the judge to king? The criminal then saw fit to ascend the upper floors. Why would he do that? Perhaps he had a second agenda, that is to say, murder. Order, Prince Thorne, I believe it is indeed a murder trial. I believe this is indeed a murder trial as well. Your claim is that the robbery is related to the murder. Is that true? That is correct. It's a double crime, which is a sentence of double time. Who said that? I'll give you one guess, counselor. We found the culprits on the 9th floor of the bank, the scene of the murder, and the police arrived mere minutes after the victim died. Ah, yes, the autopsy report was completed today. I'll add it to the public record. I've definitely got his accent really bad. The autopsy looks like about what we should expect. The victim died from the fall. Between 10 and 11. 12th died from impact to the floor of high velocity. There was a large cut on the left hand that was made immediately before death. Most likely from that spear, if I had to guess. Now back to the state of the crime scene. Aside from the vault contents, the lobby was left intact. Oh wait. Afterwards, the window on the 9th floor was broken. Crap, I missed it. Prince Thorne, a question. Where exactly did you find his weapon? You speak of the pistol that was added to the public record? Correct. It was discarded on the upper floors. Oh, crap, I can't go back. Oh, but there's a bullet hole at the scene. It's true, but the bullet hole seems very out of place in a bank lobby. However, we can't say for sure when it was made. Wait, what? It's clear as day. Fortunately, we can't tell when the damage was done, only that it was done. What basis would you have for such an argument? I forgot to mention something about the gun found at the scene. It did not fire a single shot. Order, starting your analysis. My investigation team never fails, just like the Queen. So is Mom a queen or an immortal? Honestly, given what the Queen of England's been through, she could very well be both. So the gun found wasn't fired at all? Perhaps a different weapon was used during the robbery. So just look at the piece of evidence again. You'll find the defendant's fingerprints were clearly present. Yeah, it was. That's right. Oops, I keep trying to hit escape to exit out, but it doesn't accept that. Ah, well fought. Not so fast. A witness testified being shot at. Did she now? How much of that is truth, I wonder? Do you think the witness is lying? It's simple. The suspect brought this gun to rob the bank and did not fire a shot. And you're disregarding the bullet hole in witness testimony? Because our analysis team is always correct. Tell that to the judge. Tell that to me. In court, evidence is key. One analysis is not enough to overturn multiple conflicting examples. I humbly respect your statement, Your Majesty. However, I have multiple conflicting examples of my own. Please take a look at this photograph. This is the receptionist desk. This was a picture taken several months ago. Yeah, I wish I had accidentally made that objection because there was more damage dealt to the area, but I guess he would have just said we have no proof that it was done at that time. But because this here shows the paint, there was a painting in there. Please draw your attention toward the painting behind the desk. Oh, that's exactly where the bullet hole is currently located. Yet, this painting was not found at the scene. Receptionist desk photo. You don't mean the bullet hole had not been covered by that painting? Had been covered by that painting before the crime. Can you prove that? You think me a fool? Here's your proof. Analysis of the mark on the wall. It was cold to the touch. Which means it was definitely made before the crime. It's hard to pin down the exact time frame, but we're able to conclude the mark was made at least 12 hours before the robbery. Oh, this is bad. I'm sorry, but what does this mean? Indeed, does it matter if there was or was not a shot fired? Because the facts must fit, yes? It would be very bad for the prosecution if a different gun was used, precisely because those fingerprints are a key point in our argument. Those fingerprints are circumstantial. Overruled. We have no reason to doubt that this gun was used. Precisely. So then, what happened to the missing painting? Perhaps it was stolen to make it look like a shot was fired and throw us off. That's a bit elaborate. Could that really be what happened? Wait, if the culprit really stole the painting for that purpose, he would have already known there was a hole behind there. Which brings me to final point. Where's the defendant work, may I ask? Work. Defendant, what is your occupation? I am a designer of sorts. Is that the whole story? I guess, but... Stop. Please explain your occupation in more detail. You just told bridges to stop? Oh yes, I remember using this technique before. During certain statements, I can tell someone to slow down and explain what they're trying to say in more detail. If I'm prompted with a question mark, I can press Q to ask them to wait. Alternatively, I can just click on the prompt to do the same. There'll never be any penalty for asking for details. I should always ask for more details if I can. I am an engineer, but I also work at the Bank of Prosperity as an accountant. Why didn't you say so before? I'm sorry, Mr. Cross, it would have seemed too suspicious. And there you have it, the defendant works the bank. As such, he could have easily known about the mark on the wall. This is still mostly a circumstantial case. The prosecution has made its point clear. Having worked at the bank, the defendant would know much about the place, making it easy to plan a robbery. And that's good. And so the prosecution comes out on top. We'd like to call the defendant up to the stand to confess his crime to the court. Objection. The defendant cannot be called to testify against himself. It says so right here in the legal book. What's the meaning of this? Sorry it took so long, Your Honor. I am Mr. Cross' assistant. Oh, assistant? Assistant. That's right. Let's not resist it. Are you sure you're up to this? Of course, you're going to need my books anyways. Here, take this one. Testimony guidelines. It's about testifying in court. That's right, erase your misconceptions and learn the real truth. Hooray for reading! I should take a look through this later. As per the Fifth Amendment, any person can refuse to testify details of crime would implicate them. However, they must cooperate on matters unrelated to the crime. Mark analyst. Analysis of the bullet hole. The mark was made at least 12 hours before the robbery. Worked at the bank and died from... Student studying to become a defense attorney. Oliver Bridges. Oh, all of our bridges. I get it. The defendant accused of theft and murder. Jacob Thorne. Lead prosecutor. He is a prince. This song is extremely familiar, but I can't place my finger on it. Knowing me, I'll probably remember it like 2 hours after I finish streaming. Just had insult to injury. Cheery times, now that gang's all here. What say you about the issue at hand? We can't give Thorne any more information about Bridges. We don't even know much about our client. It would look bad for us if Bridges talked about his job at the bank. The defense wants to play the silent game. Very well, to comply with that. Prosecution rests. Huh? You concede? For now, I will not present further evidence until the defense can refute my last claims. That's not how court works. That is not how court works. His Honor is correct. A verdict cannot be passed at this point. Oh, I understand that. I simply wish to play on a level field. The defense has barely said a word since we started. I'd like to hear Sir Cross's thoughts. What exactly are your claims? I should remember to ask him to wait to explain. First, the bullet hole exited long before the crime. Hold it. So the painting that exists in this photo had been covering it. Yes, I'm quite glad you remembered to use that technique. So what actually made the hole? That question's unrelated to the case at hand. What matters is the painting was once there, is now missing. The defendant's gun was not fired at all. You believe that's true because of your analysis on the weapon, is that correct? Analysis is always correct. And what about witness testimony? The one who claims she heard a gunshot. Simple, the witness is lying. Oh, but why would the witness lie about something like that? Perhaps she's trying to protect the defendant. They are co-workers, after all. This is bad. We don't have any evidence to prove the witness's claims. I need to think of something fast. Can we prove it's true? Perhaps we should use a lie detector on the witness. Charming idea, Sir Cross. Sadly, our current technology is not always reliable. Lie detector tests can indeed be fooled pretty easily. Yeah. It was usually one of the worst kept secrets until some scientists figured it out. So, unfortunately, it's pretty easy to find out how to fool a lie detector. Also, if we could just do that for every witness, I'd be out of a job. Yeah, what were you thinking, Conrad? We can't cheat like that. That's no fun. I should think of something else. Well, there's only one way to settle this, then. We should bring the witness to the stand directly and cross-examine her testimony. In court, the truth comes to light. Under the scrutiny of several trained individuals, our collective interpretation should give us the best answer. And you should draw the truth in person. I like your style, Sir Cross. Let us see what the truth awaits us. I have a bad feeling about this witness, but I don't have a choice. Bailiff, bring the witness to the stand. The witness has been sworn in. This is the receptionist I spoke to yesterday. My dearest madam, it is an honor. Objection? I can do it too. Just playing around, Prince Sirius. Name and occupation. I'm Ray Towers, welcome to the Bank of Prosperity. Can I take your order? I saw you're the receptionist. I'm sorry, that's not on the menu. Now for your new checking account instead. And so the madness begins again. Thorne, before we get to the conflicting issue, we should first ask about the robbery itself. An excellent idea. We should do the honors, Sir Cross. It was your idea. I had to call witness. I'm starting to regret that idea. Alright, let's hear your testimony. Testimony. Towers in the robbery. Where were you at the time of the robbery? Let's see. It only happened yesterday. I was at the receptionist desk. I think that much was already known. Right, around 11:30, the robber walked in. Are you sure about the time? Absolutely, I always check the time. What did the robber look like? He was wearing gloves and a mask. The thief was also dressed in black, with a big coat. I see, and the culprit was wielding a gun? Yeah, at first I didn't know what was going on, so I asked him if he wanted to place an order. Do most restaurants serve armed criminals? Then the robber pointed the weapon at me. I was directed to open the safe. Can you describe the culprit's voice? Actually, he was using a voice modulator. Voice modulator? That's right, the voice I heard was through a filter. That disguises true sound. Was there anything you noticed that could help identify the culprit? Nope. Great, so the criminal's identity is a total mystery. Actually, this is good for us, since the robber can't be identified. No one can't prove it was Mr. Bridges. But it works both ways. We can't prove it wasn't him either. I feared for my life, so I opened the safe. Nobody blames you for your actions, madam. I know that. I care less about the money, as long as our secret recipe is safe. I'm starting to think she's actually delusional. After I opened the safe, I was forced inside. That was probably so the culprit could keep an eye on you. Right, then he took some money and put it in his bag. Hold on. He had his bag with him the whole time, is that correct? Yeah, he walked in with it. That could be related to something we've already found. I think we found a similar item in the crime scene. There was a bag on the floor in the lobby. Is this the same bag? Oh, it's the bag in the lobby! I think I'm going insane. He was carrying multiple bags when he walked in. He dropped down by accident in the lobby, and he used another to store the money from the vault. So this bag does belong to the culprit. And what happened next? Well, he went to the side room. I didn't quite see because I was still in the vault. And then the thief entered the stairwell, correct? Yes. And you're absolutely sure? Yep, yes, I'm positive. And I believe I can back up this description of the witness with evidence. In the front entrance, there's a security camera. It's rigged to take pictures whenever someone passes in front of it. The accursed criminal was spotted entering at 11:30. There's no picture of him leaving. So we can assume the criminal didn't leave the front entrance. Was there anything strange you noticed after opening the vault? Not really, just your average robbery. And I think it's time to settle this bullet hole issue. Did the criminal fire a warning shot? Yes. Stop. When did this happen exactly? It was before I opened the vault. And where's the gun pointed? Don't remember. What do you know of this painting? Oh, that's mine. Wait, you own that painting? Yeah, I put it up there about a year ago. Was it hanging on there on the day of the crime? Yes, it was. Then, where did it go? The prosecution is badgering the witness. This is a very stressful recollection for her. Overruled, we need to hear the full story. However, please do take it easy, Prince Thorn. As you wish, Your Majesty. The painting. I took it down and hid it after the robber fled upstairs. Where'd you hide it? In a side room under the drawer. But we searched every inch of the place. Who was heading up the investigation of the lobby? Looks like Detective Dare is in trouble. I want a team on that site now. Miss Towers, why did you hide the painting? Because I feared it would be stolen. Doesn't sound too sure of herself. I believe it's time to break this case wide open. Let us continue after a brief recess. But Your Majesty, I'm about to break the case. No, the prosecution will take this time to conduct a search for the item. You have 10 minutes, court dismissed. Well, at least the receptionist's testimony matches what we thought. Right, but does that really help us? Thorne seems confident she's lying, and I could tell she knows more than she's letting on. Why would she lie? I have no idea. Either way, if there was a shot fired, that would benefit us greatly. Because the weapon found was not used, right? Correct, it would prove the weapon was not the one used in the crime. Mr. Bridges, why are your fingerprints on that gun? I can't explain. Mr. Bridges, in order for us to help you, you have to tell us the truth. I can tell you this much, that gun does not belong to me. Let's see. Do you work with us? That's enough, Chloe. We need to focus on the task at hand. We must figure out the truth from Mrs. Towers, even if the end result is bad for our case. Really? Finding the truth, no matter how difficult, is crucial to a fair trial. Let's just hope the truth is on our side this time. Yeah, defendants usually have a convoluted reason for hiding information. Although, I have heard many claim that witnesses actually very frequently hide information that you'd think would have been important from their lawyers. Is everyone settled? I believe we were about to question the witness's statement. That is correct. I believe Sir Cross should do the honors. Me again? This is your witness. If your argument is sound, your statements will hold up. I believe we can trust you to deduce the truth, right, Cross? Yes, counselor. Why is it always me? Very well, you may cross-examine the witness. Cross-examination. Hole in the wall. You don't believe me? Robert did have a gun and he fired a shot. Just look at that hole in the wall. It was made by that same shot. My life was in danger, that's why I opened the safe. So you think the shot was aimed directly at you? I think so. I mean, I'm pretty sure that bullet hit the wall behind me. This isn't good. The testimony contradicts the evidence pretty hard. I hope this leads somewhere. This was made at least 12 hours before the robbery. Objection. Have you been paying attention to the trial? Prosecution just presented an analysis of the mark on the wall, which proves the hole was made at least 12 hours before the incident. Excellent work, dear Cross. Perhaps you've chosen the wrong path in life. Prosecuting seems to be our talent. Don't listen to him, Conrad. We just proved our own argument is flawed. Right, but we're getting the truth. Miss Towers, can you please explain to the court why you misled us? I didn't mean to, I just assumed. Just saying you don't know what caused that hole. The shot, I didn't see where he pointed the gun. So the truth comes out. Speculation is unhealthy, madam. This doesn't make sense. Why was she so confident before? I do hope you have a good explanation. I can't. Miss Towers, you will tell the truth this instant, or you will be charged with perjury. Order, order. Counts. There was no need to threaten the witness. Pity criminals deserve no sympathy. Who's on trial here? I refuse to testify. I plead the fifth. A pity. Abort mission. We have a problem. Order 12. Ready to serve. This is bad. She definitely knows more. You can't let her leave. Miss Towers, please remain calm. No one's going to blame you for being scared. We can put you into police custody until the culprit's found. Actually, the culprit's already found. No, that's not it. Conrad, that's it. We can force her to testify. We have an important weapon, Conrad. If we show it to the court, we can get her to tell the truth. A weapon? Force the witness to testify. See here. No record of any robber or any person leaving. Pistol wasn't fired once. Is this the weapon? Sure, Conrad. Whatever you think is right. That means I was wrong. I should take another look at the evidence. What evidence will force the witness to testify? Testimony guidelines? The book you gave me. Yep. Miss Towers, while you may refuse to testify on matters that could potentially implicate you in this crime, you can't refuse to testify on unrelated events. Good thinking, Starcross. Now she won't get away. Object, wait, isn't the whole related to the case? Not quite. Conrad, if you'll explain. Mark analysis. This analysis that was just discussed should clear things up. Excellent job, Cross. As the court can see, this analysis proves the mark was made at least 12 hours prior to the crime. Clearly, it could not have been made during the robbery. I'd hardly call that related. Objection. What? Where? It was me! You, what are you doing on the witness stand? I thought your analysis was a little interesting, so I ran a few checks myself. You went to the crime scene? I went yesterday. Preemptive strike. Dare seems to be getting on Thorne's nerves. So you have new information for us? That's right. Turns out your analysis team assumed the mark was a bullet hole. That's why they got the time wrong. Time wrong? Whoa, slow down there. No need to get all worked up. I have the proof right here. Updated mark analysis. The mark was made by a spear. Could have been made at any time. Prince Thorn, what is the meaning of this? I thought your analysis was correct. It was. He's taking it really hard. Yeah, maybe his ego got hurt. I apologize to the court. The information is now corrected. Double Drone did it. Double Dare the rescue. Double Done did it. Double Drone the rescue. A detective, you've had this information yesterday. Why'd you wait until right now to show it to the court? I would have shown the court earlier. But Prince Arrogant here didn't bring me the stand earlier. That's right. Normally the prosecution has a detective explain the case. Thank you, detective. You may step down now. Double Done, save the day. So the mark was made by a spear. Wait a minute, this analysis is no time estimate. Yes, it appears we cannot determine the time at all now. That's right, a spear wouldn't leave a heat residue or anything like that. Miss Towers, do anything about this? I didn't... Your Honor, I think I know what made the mark in question. The spear was found outside the crime scene. It was most likely the item that caused the mark. But where on earth did it come from? An empty spear rack is hanging in the side room. We can assume it was on display there. But how did it end up outside? Sir, we found the painting, sir. The painting was hidden by Miss Towers? It seems to match the one shown in the photograph. Hold up, I can testify. Witness, you have new information? Well, first things first, check the court record. Found the side room, and it is until intact, no distinguishing marks. The fact that it has no marks means that the spear hole that was made, it was in fact not made at all recently, or else the painting itself would have been damaged. Yes, please let me testify. I remember clearly now. Cross-examination. Towers provide testimony. There was a shot fired, I swear, but I didn't see where it went. Maybe it was fired outside or somewhere hard to find. However, after that, while I was in the vault, I did see the culprit leaving through the front entrance holding the spear. So maybe it was outside because the culprit came it out. I saw it all from the vault. There's a blatant contradiction there. Didn't see where the shot went. I don't recall any other bullet hole at the scene, but I'll have to assume this was possible. We missed something. I should focus my attack on the second half of her testimony. So you saw the culprit holding the spear? Yes, he must have grabbed it from the side room. Let's see how you fare, Sir Cross. Please begin the cross-examination. Yes, comrade, begin the cross-examination. Ha! Security footage. This contradicts her statement. No one else left. Objection. You claim to have seen the culprit leave the bank, yet that is impossible. No security camera footage was found for the culprit leaving. Ah! Tell the truth, what did you really see? Let me testify again. Objection. The witness has lied several times in this court. Her testimony is clearly untrustworthy. It is rather strange her testimony contains so many contradictions. Your Honor, if you let me cross-examine her one more time, I'm confident we can get the truth. We're so close now. I have seen some impressive examination skills from you in the past. I will allow it. Objection overruled. But this is your last chance, witness. No more lies. Sorry, everyone. It's just hard to remember. Please continue your testimony at the court. Cross-examination. Tower's last chance. Here, I'm sorry. He didn't leave to the front. Rather, just went upstairs. While I was in the vault, I saw him come out of the side room holding the spear. I didn't catch all of his actions. I didn't see it exactly, but I'm sure he stabbed the wall with a spear. Explain the hole was found. I believe I must have taken the spear upstairs, but I have no clue how it ended up outside. So you didn't see everything the culprit did while you were in the vault. I missed a few things, but I can use log 2, right? My interpretation explains everything. Can the whole really be explained by that timeline of events? It does seem to be the only reasonable explanation, but there's still something that doesn't sit right with it. I didn't catch all of his actions. Actually, I'm sure he stabbed the wall with a spear. The painting wasn't damaged at all. Now hold on there. So you're assuming the hole was made by the culprit before he went upstairs? Yes, doesn't it make sense? No, it doesn't, actually. You of all people should know that something was on the wall. Something that would have been covering the spot where the hole was located. Namely, this painting. Your painting. This painting really was hanging until after the incident. It would have been punctured by the spear, yet the painting currently has no such mark. Oh, but your order was ready. You've lied too many times in this court. You'll be charged with perjury immediately. I understand. 1 second, Prosecutor Thorne. Before we dismiss the witness, we should hear the truth. Just tell you everything? Speak now, forever be held in contempt. This is it, we've cornered her. I made the hole in the wall. What? I was practicing my fighting skills, and the side room's right there with all the cool stuff. Come again. It really gets boring at the front desk, so sometimes I swing the spear around. So that's what she was hiding the whole time. If my boss finds out, I'll be fired. And so you put up the painting to hide the mark. Yes, it happened a few months ago. Seems like a reasonable story to me. It seems to fit her personality in all honesty. We'll find out soon enough if the facts fit. You may dismiss the witness. I'm sorry. So that explains one thing, but she still claimed to hear a gunshot. Evidence, dear, cross-evidence. Testimony alone cannot prove a thing in court. I should probably let this slide, then. Perhaps we should settle this with a duel. Do you remember that ancient custom, right? Wait, you mean... Conrad, you don't even have a sword. No, I don't think he means that kind of duel. I think he's talking about a logic duel. Sounds like a game. Is that what court is to you, Conrad? It's more than a game. Arguments are key to finding the truth. Thorne, I accept your challenge. I don't have much else to go on. If I can somehow prove the gun they found was not the weapon used, I'll be at a huge advantage in our case. Splendid. Your Majesty, please prepare the courtroom. Yes, it's been some time since we've done this, but are the counselors prepared? I look forward to the defense's demise. Just like the good old days of law. Please proceed. Very well, the court will maintain silence. The defense and prosecution will argue until the matter is settled. Good luck, Conrad. Only have one shot at this, I must not fail. Sounds like a good chance to be saving, then. Duel. Purple and red smoke. Duel, the robbery, Cross versus Thorne. In a duel, the goal is to crush the opponent's argument. I'll be faced with a series of rapid questions. If I make a mistake, I'll be penalized. There was no shot fired during the robbery. The gun found on the 9th floor is the one that was used in the lobby. I need to counter the opposing arguments with smart remarks. Take my time to consider the options available to me. A correct response will lead to victory. Well, I'm waiting, Sir Cross. Subject will be the events that occurred before the murder. I must throw suspicion on the prosecution's evidence, and prove my client was not the one who robbed the bank. The security footage shows the culprit was holding a weapon. Furthermore, the gun's the same model as the one found at the scene. How could a shot have been fired if analysis showed the gun found was not used? There's really only one scenario where my argument works. Perhaps our investigation missed something, namely a separate gun that was identical to the one we found. We searched everywhere, the item was not at the scene. Not so fast, this wouldn't be the first time we missed something. The mark analysis. Your analysis of the mark on the wall was incorrect. We missed the fact that it was made by a spear, which begs the question, how many other things we miss? That's it, I need to keep the pressure on him. Oh, but how likely? The likelihood doesn't matter as long as the possibility exists. We cannot hound out a verdict. We've already discussed how the culprit in this footage could not have left through the front exit. How exactly did the robber leave the bank? Back entrance exists on the same floor. No security cameras installed on that side. Which brings me to my next point. Only bank employees know about the back entrance. Now hold it. How do you know that? I've questioned a few of the employees. Back entrance is not commonly used. It leads to a narrow alley. But the point is, the suspect admitted to working at the bank. I suppose he did. There are other bank employee suspects. But there were others that could have committed the crime then. Others? You should also be suspecting other employees of the bank then, shouldn't you? The back entrance was really one aspect of my argument. The culprit was definitely a defendant. Take, for example, the discarded bag. It belonged to the bank itself. This was carried by the culprit. That means the culprit had access to this bag before the crime. Objection. Those bags, I'm not finished yet. Only the defendant had access to this particular bag. What do you mean? The type of bag was only used internally in the first floor vault. Smuggling them out would be no easy task. Luckily, our suspect's job is to manage money, a task that requires him to enter the vault. Ah, no. What say you, Knight of Justice? I bet the bag teleported out on its own. The bag came from outside the vault. Others could have entered the vault. At least that was on the first floor, and not... could the bank have used this type of bag elsewhere? What? Wait, what's all this fire? And also I have something to say. You don't interrupt. But someone else normally enters the vault. Someone who could have easily stolen the bags. Who is this person? It was Mr. Ground himself. Why you? Have this bag search for fingerprints immediately. Yeah, I'm starting to think... the results confirm my theory. Yeah, I think Mr. Ground was the one who... that might have actually been the one that robbed the bank, and then he ended up killed. Bill Ground's fingerprints were found on this bag. Evidence updated. They were not stolen by the defendant. They were stolen by the victim. But the victim had no motive to commit such a deed. Mr. Bridges, were you at the bank the day of the incident? Yes, I was. And Ground, he was present as well? That's correct. He was doing his job early in the morning, like as usual. Have the security footage checked. We must know his movements. Security footage from the front entrance? There's a record of him entering the building at 8 AM, but no record of him leaving. That's easily explained. The victim simply had to use the aforementioned back entrance to leave. Once outside, the bags wound up in the hands of the true culprit. The victim died after the robbery at 11:30. You're saying the Ground left the building, dropped off the bags, then re-entered through the back door? I guess he had to be on the 9th floor at 11:30. That's just a ridiculously complicated set of movements, not to mention that path would be impossible. What? Forgive me for not mentioning this earlier. The back door is locked from the outside. Oh, is that true? Yes, I'm afraid it's true. That means the victim had to be in the building after the robbery, therefore he could not have been the one who stole the bags. Not good, I don't have much to counter with. Times like these, I should sit for a moment and think. There are several routes of attack I can take. I can either try to show how Ground moved the bags outside, or I can show how Ground entered the building after leaving. I think Ground didn't leave the back. He must have... I can explain how the victim was able to move the bags outside without leaving the building. All ears, Sir Cross. Someone else was able to carry the bag from the entrance. Not possible. Security records would have been... No one was seen leaving with the bags. What about the back entrance? Just who would do such a thing? Why go through all the trouble? What if the victim was working with the culprit? Well, have you given up, Sir Cross? My initial ideas brought me down this new path. But what could it mean? I have no choice but to say it. Thinking about why Ground would steal the bags. There's really only one reason. You believe Mr. Ground was working with the culprit? Prosecutor Thorne, I can identify the culprit. The culprit we've been searching for this whole time. I'm sorry I had to come to this. The culprit of the bank robbery we've been chasing after is the victim of the murder, Bill Ground. Let me explain it like this. First, sometime after 8, Ground stole the bags. Then he left through the back entrance. He had to do this so that no one would see him leaving with the bags. At 11:30, he re-entered the building as the robber. carried the same bags with him as through the front door. As we've already established, the culprit went upstairs. This is impossible. You said it yourself, Thorne. You said the culprit was an employee of the bank. Need I remind you, Mr. Ground worked there as well? How do you explain the spear, though? Recall the spear ended up outside the building, after the culprit carried it upstairs. Think about it, Thorne. The answer's obvious. We could go with the witness lying about the spear. He didn't carry it out because the whole point about this is he didn't leave. Witness lied about this. Clearly, there was no way for the spear to end up outside, so the witness testimony is false. Ross, that was your witness. Furthermore, you cross-examined her several times, not to mention the spear really was found outside. Let me explain a bit differently then. Carried it out. Because he, after committing the deed and stealing the spear, carried the item outside the building. Cross, the front entrance was rigged with a security camera. There's no record of him leaving. No, there was another way. He used the back entrance to carry the spear out. Possible. What? Ground is the victim. He had to be on the 9th floor at 11:30. If he had left through the back entrance after carrying the spear out, he would have had to re-enter the building, since the back door was locked. He could only enter through the front. No security footage shows him entering a second time. That's your point, but there's another way to explain it. Oh, so he threw the spear. We know the culprit carried the spear upstairs, but recall the state of the 9th floor. The window had been shattered. Correct, isn't it possible the spear was what used to shatter the window? That would explain why the culprit took the spear in the first place. Exactly, then he threw it outside from the 9th floor. But wouldn't there be better objects to use for breaking the window? Take a look at the back end of the spear. The ornament in the end would be heavy enough to do the job. Objection. The pistol bore the fingerprints. As I mentioned before, that pistol is unrelated. We must investigate the crime scene again to find the true weapon. But if there was a shot fired, where's the bullet mark? It's already been shown we could have missed things at the scene. We cannot rule a verdict while there are still unanswered questions. My client is innocent. The true culprit of the bank robbery was Bill Ground. We need to figure out who murdered him. Well, what's funny? You may be able to explain the robbery with a new suspect, but the fact is, your suspect was killed. Ground was pushed from the 9th floor after the robbery. That much still remains. But, objection. The defendant has already admitted to being at the bank during this event. I'm sorry. Even if the defendant was not the true culprit of the robbery, he's still the likeliest suspect in the murder. That's quite enough. It's clear the defense and prosecution can't come to a consensus. This bickering bores me greatly. There are too many questions and not enough evidence. Yes, we've come to the decision to extend this trial in order to allow for additional investigation. Very well, if His Majesty requires it. Extend the trial, Conrad? The judge has the power to postpone the trial for various reasons. We have one additional day to investigate, but the court will resume tomorrow. Tomorrow? That's not nearly enough time. The courts are moving faster than ever. That's just how it works now. That's not fair. Before he was hospitalized, my mentor warned me about the law. It's constantly evolving, never set in stone. It shouldn't be like this, but it is. I shall look forward to our next meeting, Sir Cross. I think I'm giving him too much of more of a French accent than British one. Trial postponed. Use this additional time wisely. Court adjourned. Here we are, the recess room. Let's recuperate real quick. Well, that got us nowhere. Thanks we didn't get a guilty verdict. Well, our odds of getting one tomorrow are looking greater by the minute. So, was Mr. Ground really the culprit in the robbery incident? It's hard to say. He certainly had the ability to commit the crime. Woo, go Cross. A nice job out there, Chloe. Detective Dare, I thought you were on Thorne's side. Aha. Oh, with the way he double dismissed my investigation, not a chance. There's no sides in finding the truth. Lighten up, Conrad. The detective saved our case in there. I suppose so. Thanks for that analysis. Don't mention it, man. I would have gotten to you sooner if the prince had just let me do my damn job. There seems to be some tension between Dare and Thorne. Maybe I should leave the topic alone for now. Has there been any headway in the investigation? Well, we wrapped up the scene on the 9th floor. Didn't find anything double definitive, though. Will we be able to investigate the 9th floor, then? Yep, we're ready for action. Just head on down the bank when you're ready. Yay, let's get to it, Conrad. Perhaps Chloe's right. Maybe I should lighten up. Alright, let's go. Then again, maybe not. Well, I'll see you down at the crime scene. Double dare away. What a colorful cast. All things considered, that was probably the most normal conversation we've had with him. Alright, what's on our to-do list today? First, we visit the crime scene again. The 9th floor is opened up, so let's see if we can get any new information. Dare just said they didn't find anything. It won't hurt to check it out for ourselves. Considering all the evidence they missed yesterday, we should at least look. I guess that's true. What else do we need to do? After that, we should visit Bridges again at the detention center. There's a lot he didn't tell us about the crime. We should press him for details. Lastly, I need to meet with an old friend. An old friend? You mean the one you talked to over the phone? Yes. She should be able to give us some more information about the bank. Bridges is being questioned right now, and I haven't gotten a call from my friend, so it looks like we should start by going to the 9th floor of the Bank of Prosperity. Alright, let's get to it. Team Jury Duty to the rescue. I wonder how many creative team names she has ready. I was gonna say it's interesting. He seems to primarily travel with a taxi, but looking at this is probably a major city like New York or something, or some equivalent. They haven't said where this game takes place, but I imagine it's supposed to be intentionally vague because of the laws in place. But yeah, I imagine most areas are so close. Our protagonist here can just walk there in most cases. The lobby looks about the same as yesterday. There's investigations moved to the 9th floor. Should we go up to the 9th floor? Let's head upstairs. I think there's a staircase on the 1st floor. Can't we take the elevator? This is the 9th floor. Hey, if it isn't the double duo! Cross and Chloe! Detective Dare, give us the rundown. Can do. What a cheerful atmosphere. A murder was committed up here. Way to kill the mood. That window over there was broken by the culprit. Watch your step. So this is where the victim fell from. What was Mr. Ground doing up here? Ground handles security systems. I'm sure he works all over this building. But under your theory that he had just robbed the place, I can't understand why he'd go up here after a robbery. It would make more sense for him to plan his escape. Maybe your theory is doubly wrong. Even in that case, we know he fell from here at 11:30. That's right, Chloe witnessed herself at that time. She seems a little disturbed by it. Better change the subject. Alright, we're gonna look around for a bit. Alright, just talk to me if you want to go downstairs. Alright, we should start by inspecting everything in this room. It looks like the towers is here too. We should talk to her as well. Poor comrade, positive thoughts. Lighten up a little. Right, this again. Better play along. Whatever you say, Chloe, let's go. That's the spirit. Let's do this. Go team. Things are definitely getting interesting. Investigation, the 9th floor. I think now is a good time to call the stream. I'll just save in one of the autosaves here. Don't need anything major. Alright, that'll be all for now. Well, the 3D models are about the only thing that took a bit of getting used to, but the trials themselves and the characters are a colorful bunch. I quite like them. I'm definitely looking forward to more of this game, but until next time, thank you for watching, hope you had a good time, and I'll see you later.